When he actually awakened an S-class ability, nobody would believe it. He could generate infinite mana, dreaming of becoming incredible with girls falling at his feet. But early on, things did not go that way at all. Everyone looked down on him because his magic only benefited mages and healers. Just a low-level hunter, level 29. In battle, he only stood by and watched. He was useful only when mages ran out of mana. Then he would step up. He recharged them, bringing them back to full power to defeat the dungeon boss. Yet, nobody ever thanked him. They just treated him like a tool. The leader even told him he barely contributed today, so he should go harvest parts from the boss corpse. He felt wronged but had to obey. Teammates whispered, wondering why a combat member was doing cheap logistics work. A nearby hunter just scoffed at him. He only has one useless ability, infinite magic energy generation. Sure, it is labeled an S-class skill, but healers recharge mana themselves. He just speeds up the process. The effect only matters in rare, high-cost boss fights where immense magic is needed. For normal hunts, it is useless. Even though he has been working as a hunter for 5 years, he still has not hit level 30. He silently endured their mocking laughter. Just you wait, he thought to himself. Once he finally managed to hit level 30, everything would change. But back at headquarters, he got awful news. The guild officials told him directly, "Sono, nobody wants to team up with you anymore. And since you are still stuck at level 29, it is impossible for you to clear dungeons solo. So after talking, we decided to transfer him to the business desk, where his skills might actually be useful. If he could not clear dungeons, what was the point of his struggle?" But here's the twist: they had absolutely no idea how his power really worked. It was far more than just generating infinite magic. He had actually awakened this skill before ever even becoming a hunter. A blue screen popped up in front of him. Clicking copy turned it into actual food right in his hand. He thought it was incredible, but soon realized the massive catch behind this power. The drawbacks were brutal. As soon as copied items left his touch, they dissolved into light and vanished. Even worse, copied weapons had strict level limits. Anything above his own tier would fail to copy. Strangely, duplicated magic energy did not fade. He could easily transfer it to anyone. This led to the massive misunderstanding, which is why they labeled his skill as infinite magic. He was actually duplicating other people's skills under strict conditions. Then a breaking news alert popped up on his phone. The Klesia Dragon Sword was going on display. This legendary blade had 2 empty skill slots and massive defense boosts, but the absolute best part: holding it instantly boosted the user's level to 200 right away. Despite the weapon requiring only level 30, but this relic had only 10 durability points, a tragic flaw for anyone else. But for Sono, durability was irrelevant. He could copy it infinitely. To reach level 30 in a week and wield that sword, Sono had to join a temporary party to clear the giant king's spider dungeon. Once again, the poor guy found himself hiding behind the mage, occasionally boosting the annoying blonde guys. Mana, that blonde mage, was incredibly rude, always demanding more power. Whenever his energy refilled, he would blindly spam his strongest ultimate skills, not caring about the cost. But Sano ignored him, focusing only on the experience points needed to level up. Someone asked if he was still checking his status. This was Yanaga, a rising talent from the Great Sage Guild. He was technically Sano's junior, even though Sano was the one struggling to survive. Rumor had it Yanaga was short on cash, so he took these random dungeon runs. His spare time. Soon, the party stood before the boss room, facing a level 80 giant King Spider. The heavy aura was suffocating, making everyone wonder if they stood a chance. Seeing Sano trembling with fear, Yanaga stepped forward to offer some comfort. He told his senior not to worry and to just stay safely in the back. Defeating the giant spider was actually quite simple, as long as they avoided its deadly silk. Once caught in those webs, escaping was nearly impossible. Even worse if the eggs were damaged, the boss would fly into a violent rage. Suddenly, the impatient blonde mage snapped, calling out to Yanaga. He demanded to know why they were explaining tactics to a useless bystander instead of fighting. With an irritated sigh, the blonde kicked a small pebble forward, but that careless rock bounced straight into the sticky spider silk, alerting the monster instantly. The giant king spider let out a deafening screech and lunged at the party. Everyone cursed the idiot mage, but luckily, their tank blocked the initial strike and managed to sever one of the beast's giant legs. He screamed for the others to stop standing around and strike. Instantly, the party rushed forward, weapons raised, unleashing their ultimate skills. Meanwhile, Sano could only watch from behind, rooting for them in silence, but you know things are about to go horribly wrong. As the giant boss unleashed its web attack, that reckless blonde mage did something incredibly stupid. He fired a massive, wide-range fire spell straight at the spider. Nest, the thick silk protected the boss from damage, but the fragile eggs inside were instantly incinerated. Realizing its children were dead, the monster went completely berserk, shooting sticky webs in every direction. There was no escape. Before anyone could react, the entire party was tightly bound and helpless. The blonde panicked, screaming that his fire magic could not burn through the webs. His loud cries immediately drew the beast's attention, and it crept toward him. Too late, he realized his fatal mistake, screaming in absolute terror. In a single, brutal second, the blonde mage was wiped out. Watching this, San shivered with fear. Trapped in the heavy webs, he could not move a single muscle. With no one to save him, he became the spider's next target. Looking at the monstrous beast closing in, utter despair washed over him. He truly believed a low tier dungeon would be safe, but now death was staring him down. Sano refused to accept this fate. Suddenly a prompt appeared, asking if he wanted to copy and paste. In this crucial moment, Sano's hidden skill triggered, pasting a duplicate of him from just before. His original dead body vanished, but this resurrection did not save him from danger. Killed again, he used Control 5 to paste another. The revived hunter immediately hides. Nothing is working. What should he do? Mid-struggle, he hears a weak cry. It is Econ, still alive, but Sono can barely protect himself. The giant boss keeps closing in, and he knows if he does nothing, Econ will surely die. Damn it, as a senior, can he just stand by and watch his junior get killed? He charges forward. With his sword heavily striking the foot the beast was about to attack, the powerful recoil knocks him to the ground. Fortunately, this deflects the deadly boss strike. Right then, a system pop-up appears. Level 30, Sono stares at the system panel in utter confusion. What is happening? How did he suddenly level up? Could that strike have actually done damage? While he is still in a daze, he is killed by the boss again. Control 5, a complete joke, but since his attacks can damage the beast, he refuses to run. Even if he dies countless times, he will win. After 3 days and nights of battle, he dies 50 times, nearly all there. Weapons are broken by his hands. His level has increased again, a much-needed victory. The boss is also covered in deep wounds now. It is time to end this. He quickly dodges the silk attack of the boss. When it strikes again, he seizes the perfect opportunity. He leaps onto its giant leg, raising his sword high and lunges, screaming to die. He slashes at the head of the boss, but his sword actually shatters. That cheap copycat gear is completely useless, losing his footing. He falls heavily to the ground. The boss roars, and as he prepares to face death once more, a miracle happens. The spot he struck suddenly begins to crack. The fractures quickly spread throughout its entire body. With a massive explosion, the beast shatters into countless pieces. At this moment, Sono lies exhausted on the ground, breathing heavily. Laughing, he realizes he finally did it. Then, numerous level up notification windows pop up, congratulating him on obtaining the giant Spider King reward. After resting, he carries Econ and prepares to leave. the dungeon, but then a sudden attack strikes. He looks ahead in absolute terror. Numerous level 30 spider offspring are emerging. Damn it, he thinks. He is fine. But Econ is still helpless. Against so many monsters, all he can do is shield his junior with his own body. Just as they pounce, a miracle occurs. The lead spider is sliced in half as a figure appears before him. Countless spiders rush toward her, but the mysterious savior simply raises her weapon. Terrifying hellfire instantly burns all the spiders to ashes. Hellfire is the peak tier of fire magic, used by only a handful of people worldwide. If he remembers correctly, there is only one user in the nation, the magic swordsman who wields the legendary witch blade, the fifth-ranked hunter of the island. Hunter Nanes asks if they are the only survivors, looking down at the dead bodies scattered across the floor, all of whom were high-level hunters. Somehow, the low-level Sono survived the boss room and saved his teammate. Nanes begins to wonder what exactly happened here and asks how they managed it. Back at the Hunter Association headquarters, it turns out that Hunter Nanes is also the director of Dungeon Immigration Management. After completing a few simple inquiries, she says that this is the giant spider King Spider Silk, inspecting it along with other. He promises to hand over any dungeon gains later, asking if there's anything else she needs. She dismisses him, leaving him in disbelief. After all, his team is completely unregistered, which counts as an illegal conquest. He wonders if he can really just walk away. But Nancy explains these things happen every day. Many unregistered groups end up causing casualties by sneaking into dungeons without permission, purely for their own gain. The association has basically accepted this tacitly. Hearing this, Hanjun breathes a sigh of relief and prepares to leave. As he gets up, Nancy grabs the spider Silk and calls to him. She points out he forgot it, but he tells her to keep it and pass any other gains to his junior. With that, he closes the door and walks out. Staring at the silk in her hand, Nancy is left completely puzzled. What exactly is this guy hiding? Walking away from the office, Hanjun can't hold back. He smirks with a triumphant smile. Talk about hitting the jackpot. He now has an endless supply of spider silk. Specifically, the giant king spider's silk. It allows him to shoot strong webs. Just like the beast itself, it has incredible adhesiveness and a level 40 requirement. He wonders what the catch is. After finally defeating the boss, he gets an item like this. He decides to copy it first, but the moment he touches it, the silk vanishes right before his eyes. He is left completely confused by what just happened. A system alert pops up. The spider silk has been absorbed by his current skill, boosting his Control V ability value. He stares in utter surprise at the system screen. His control skill allows him to duplicate objects, while Control V lets him paste them. His level 1 skill now grants him 3 new options. It is incredible. He never expected his skill to level up like this. He immediately checks the details of these 3 new options for control. See, a new screen appears. Option 1 allows him to paste copied items and maintain them for any desired duration. Option 2 allows him to stitch different objects together within a specific time frame, while Option 3 grants the ability to untangle the giant spiders silk. This evolved skill is a massive game changer. From now on, copied objects will not vanish right away, even if they leave his body. To test this, he decides to copy the spider silk for 1 minute. Sure enough, it remains solid even after leaving his hand. After waiting exactly 1 minute, the silk vanishes right on schedule. He is going to be filthy rich if he sets the duration to 1,000 or 10,000 years. It will basically last forever. Just thinking about the insane profits he can pull from these dungeons makes him burst out laughing. From this day forward, he is going to live like a king. The high life awaits him. Meanwhile, on the Rainbow Bridge, a heavily armored truck speeds along. This is the official vehicle tasked with transporting the legendary Kata dragon sword. Its high-profile guards include Maul Grant, a level 112 fighter, and Ri Hugh, a master mage. Both belong to the Hunter Association. This transport marks the final stop of the sword's global exhibition. Maul asks his partner if he plans to take a vacation once this is over. Ares replies that he wants to explore the local dungeons, prompting Maul to wish him luck in finding real treasure. Ares remains cold, replying that minding other people's business only brings trouble. Right then, an urgent report crackles over their radio, stating they are currently passing through the Rainbow Bridge dungeon area. Interrupted for about 5 minutes due to electromagnetic interference within the dungeon. Hearing this, Maul glances out the window. The dungeon sitting on the sea feels so romantic to him. Ares, however, feels a sense of unease. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Rainbow Bridge dungeon at the immigration office, 2 hunters are on guard duty. Fireball, this job is so boring, one complains. Fireball dismissively glances at Shinoda Satoru. You are just a level 21 rookie, he scoffs, getting this easy job through connections and still complaining. He warns him that just 3 weeks ago, a major incident occurred right here. Just then, something strange suddenly rolls right to their feet. Looking closely, it is actually a slime. Shinoda Satoru quickly bends down to pick it up, calling it cuter than the ones inside the dungeons. Fireball's face, however, drastically changes upon seeing this, wondering how a monster can appear outside the dungeon. Then a terrifying figure suddenly appears nearby. Fireball looks behind them. Terror, only to see a huge goblin swinging a club their way. Blood instantly gushes out. Meanwhile, our protagonist is still at the Hunter Association, carefully studying his information panel. Thanks to the massive experience gained from the dungeon conquest, he is now almost level 50. Once he hits level 50, he can team up to conquer those ultimate dungeons. Just as he is smugly preparing to use his abilities to make some serious money, a group of hunters rushes past him. From their hurried conversation, he quickly gathers that the Rainbow Bridge dungeon is experiencing anomalies and is currently on red alert. What's more, the truck carrying the Kishia Dragon Sword is on the bridge. Are you kidding me? The Kishia Dragon Sword is actually there, he thinks, completely stunned. On the roof of the Hunter Association, several aircraft are already on standby. Hunters from the association have all gathered, preparing to provide support. Then Hunter Nanai steps forward. She announces that the mission's absolute priority is rescuing citizens, while protecting the Kishia Dragon Sword is only secondary. Just as Nanai prepares to board her aircraft, she spots some commotion in the distance. Looking closer, she realizes it's him. Shamelessly trying to follow along, he calls out to Hunter Nanai, asking to come along too, wanting to save more people and help guide and evacuate citizens. Nanai is surprised to see him, remembering how he mysteriously survived before and how he helped her junior, so she agrees to take him along. From other hunters, he learns that the Rainbow Bridge dungeon seems somewhat strange. They had just quelled unrest there 3 weeks ago, and now anomalies are occurring again. Honestly, nothing in this world is surprising anymore. Even collapsed dungeons can collapse again, and each time they have to stop it, needing to prevent the tragedy of 15 years ago from repeating. Back then, global disasters occurred simultaneously. National-level disaster. Dungeons all collapsed. If monsters aren't properly subjugated, dungeons will collapse due to saturation. During that time, many monsters rushed out of the dungeons and into cities. Massive numbers of citizens were attacked, and cities instantly became hell. He was a survivor of that disaster, but he lost both of his parents. It was then that an otherworldly entity appeared before him. It slapped a strange, completely broken copy-paste skill curse on him, calling it a gift. But this cheap gift had a 20-year limit, and he has absolutely no clue if it limits his skills or lifespan. Only 5 years remain before that deadline. If that entity's appearance was tied to the global catastrophe, then the exact same disaster will strike again in 5 years when it returns. But he found a path to power if he becomes the strongest hunter. He can stop the catastrophe and break the curse. Right now, though, the Rainbow Bridge is falling into absolute chaos with constant explosions. Shinoda Satoru watches helplessly as endless swarms of monsters. Savage, innocent citizens, there are simply too many enemies. They desperately need backup. Suddenly, a goblin lunges from behind. Shinoda Satoru spins and cuts it down, but before he can breathe, another beast leaps in for a cheap shot. Luckily, Fireball steps in to save him. Shinoda Satoru thanks him, praising the veteran for saving his life twice in one day. But the other hunter clearly looks down on Shinoda Satoru anyway, convinced he only got his license through connections. Still, Shinoda Satoru vows to repay this debt no matter what. Fireball snaps that they need to push toward the bridge head and rendezvous with the rescue team immediately. Meanwhile, right at the center, a massive, raging beast is actively clawing at a vital transport truck. It is a level 190 giant bear. Maul asks Ars if the truck is fine. Ars tells him he understands the anxiety, but they shouldn't worry. His protection magic is top tier, impenetrable even to a level 400 monster. But suddenly a terrifying anomaly occurs. The entire structure shakes and sways violently. Everyone stares in absolute disbelief. Even their legendary defenses are utterly useless here. Suddenly, the Hunter Association support aircraft finally arrives. And honestly, they are not ready for what comes next. The Rainbow Bridge Dungeon ultimate boss, a colossal dragon, emerges. It rises from the sea as hunters prepare to engage. The beast exhales a torrent of devastating fire straight at the bridge. The blast incinerates everything, erasing a massive section of the concrete. Hunters look down from the aircraft in sheer terror. The boss looks up, spotting them. It opens its massive maw wide, charging up another blast. A devastating beam of fire shoots upward. The aircraft explodes, forcing everyone to jump for their lives. With the boss here, their mission has completely flipped. Every available hunter scrambles to take down the threat. Nia channels her powerful magic, coating her sword in blazing hellfire. With a fierce battle cry, she prepares to strike. Streams of fire erupt from her blade, roaring toward the beast. Meanwhile, Sono uses his spider silk to secure a safe landing. Their main target is the Kia Dragon Sword, but along the way, Sono discovers. Sano finds piles of monster corpses, but there is no sign of any hunters. Suddenly, a loud shout rings out to run as Shinoda Satoru desperately fights. He struggles against monsters directly ahead, while a badly injured Fireball cowers behind. Fireball begs him to leave before he dies too, but Satoru refuses. He refuses to abandon his teammate, causing Fireball to call him an idiot. Why would low-level monsters appear in a high-level dungeon? Fireball asks. They swarm in massive groups, making their combined strength rival elite monsters. If you do not run now, it will be too late, but it already is. These level 15 wolf demons are weak alone, but they swarm in packs. Their combined power matches high-level beasts, and countless more are approaching. Even so, Shinoda Satoru has absolutely no regrets about staying to fight. My senior once protected me, he thinks, so now I must protect them. Sano watches the intense scene unfold from a distance. It reminds him of when he saved his junior, halting his steps. Suddenly, the pack surrounds them, and Satoru desperately struggles to resist. There are just too many beasts as a wolf demon leaps to finish him. Sano suddenly bursts onto the scene, tackling the vicious monster away. Sano asks if he is okay, shocking Satoru with his sudden appearance. But the terror remains as endless hordes of wolf demons close in. Satoru thanks him for the save and urges that they flee immediately. This massive pack is too dangerous even for high-level hunters to handle. Yet Sano simply stands his ground, a small smile playing on his face. Sano remarks that this is perfect, leaving Satoru completely puzzled. As the beasts pounce, Sano casually summons his glowing system panel. Just watch, Sano stays calm as he is buried under the pack. Satoru watches in pure horror as his savior is completely overwhelmed. But suddenly, countless sharp spider silks erupt, tightly binding every single demon. Sano walks out of the pack completely unharmed, showing off an impressive skill. The magical threads contract, squeezing the struggling demons tighter and tighter. Look at this incredible spectacle that leaves Satoru completely shocked. Right after, the system chimed with a satisfying level up notification sound. What kind of insane skill wipes out an entire monster horde in an instant? But Sano has a dilemma. Leaving them here means they will get attacked again. Sano has highly important matters to attend to and cannot babysit them. Dragging two weak hunters along is out of the question, leaving only one option. Sano pulls out a small bottle of glowing red liquid and hands it over. A confused Fireball takes it, as Sano explains it is a mid-level potion. Drinking this will heal your severe wounds, leaving Fireball absolutely stunned. He asks why Sano is giving away something so incredibly rare. Sano says a senior must ensure their juniors make it back safely. Shinoda Satoru is deeply moved and promises to repay this massive debt. As Sano prepares to walk away, he suddenly turns back with a sheepish grin. If you really want to repay me, Sano says, there is one favor. Can you point me toward the Hunter Association transport vehicle? I have an absolutely terrible sense of direction, Sano admits. He stood there stunned. His savior had absolutely zero sense of direction. Meanwhile, on the far side of Rainbow Bridge, a mysterious group gathered. They rushed toward the center, blindsided by the boss's sudden appearance. One slip meant losing everything. Nace and his guild had to act. They needed to take down the boss fast to stabilize the dungeon. This chaotic raid was the perfect distraction for their real mission. They were going to steal the legendary Keisha dragon sword right now. Back at the bridge, the giant monster bear kept rampaging until Ares cast another powerful sleep spell, sending the massive beast crashing to the ground. Witnesses watched in awe, wondering how a hunter could be such a pacifist. But the peace did not last. A heavy iron projectile came flying. Luckily, Maul saw it coming and sliced the iron sphere clean in half. He knew they would show up. This was a familiar pattern. The notorious Kami-out bandits had tried ambushing them multiple times before. Now a squad of cloaked assassins stepped right out of the shadows. Their leader smirked, eager to test his skills against Maul in battle. He lunged forward, but Maul raised his blade to counter the strike. Warning his foe, Maul swung hard, but the assassin slipped away easily. As the enemy fell back, Maul pursued, ignoring Ares' desperate warnings. It was already too late. Maul's body suddenly seized up as blood sprayed out. Choking on his own blood, Maul collapsed. Ares rushed to his side. He realized the bandits had used highly illegal, magic-blocking poison pills. These deadly toxins completely cut off a hunter's ability to absorb magic. Using such banned items was an absolute outrage, fueling Ares' anger. Vowing to make them pay, he tried to conjure his magic circle. But the spell sputtered out uselessly, earning a sneer from the assassin. The cloaked killer laughed, declaring a magicless mage was as good as dead. A massive fireball formed in his palm, ready to incinerate the duo. But before he could strike, his head was violently ripped clean off. The rampaging monster bear had woken up, and it was absolutely furious. With a deafening roar, the beast towered over the terrified, scattered bandits. In a single sweep, the giant predator obliterated the remaining assassins. Their leader panicked and fled, realizing he had horribly miscalculated. Now the massive predator turned its bloodshot eyes toward Ares and Maul. Ares desperately asked if Maul could put the beast back to sleep. But Maul couldn't move. The magic-blocking poison had completely paralyzed him. Ares lamented that Maul's soft-hearted ways would eventually lead to trouble. Maul agreed but pointed out that Ares was different. With that, Ares charged forward, unfolding a magic circle in his hand. Maul screamed for him to stop, knowing it was suicide. He then coughed up dark blood, desperately forcing his magic to activate. The intense agony nearly broke him as his spell fizzled out. By the time Maul reached the giant bear's feet, his power was gone. Facing those sharp claws, Ares whispered a quiet apology to his friend. Just as the heavy blow descended, glowing spider silks suddenly shot forward. Sudden threads appear right before Ares, instantly binding those massive claws before wrapping around. The beast's entire body is covered. The giant bear struggles relentlessly, but it's completely useless. Bound up tight like a giant dumpling, the monster stops moving entirely. Ares just stares. Ares watches this in total disbelief, witnessing the absolute masterpiece Sano created. Sano and his trio had only just arrived, never expecting their crazy plan to work. It went too smoothly. Ares and Maul immediately tense up, highly suspicious of the group. They suspect these newcomers are just more greedy bandits looking to steal the legendary sword. No matter how hard Sano tries to explain, neither of them buys his story. Only when Shinoda Satoru flashes his official identification do they finally start to listen. "We're certified hunters from the Island Nation Hunter Association," Satoru calmly explains. They are responsible for managing the entry and exit of this Rainbow Bridge dungeon. Noticing their change of heart, Sano offers help, urging them to heal up first. He hands over 2 mid-level healing potions, which finally makes them lower their guard. Suddenly, aircraft roar overhead. The long-awaited rescue has finally arrived. Someone exclaims that backup has finally arrived. They are actually going to make it. Meanwhile, Hunter Nennies is still locked in a fierce battle against the boss. Suddenly, the massive beast enters its third phase, forcing Nennies to halt his assault. "Watch out for the wide-range shockwave," he warns the surrounding hunters. "Reinforcements are already here, so we just need to buy time for the citizens." Can this place be saved? Just when things look hopeless, a familiar face appears. It's Shiroki Masato, a level 503 dark mage. Nennies looks back. In complete shock, he asks how Shiroki is here, but gets no answer. The dark mage simply raises his staff, activating a massive magic circle before them. Seeing this, Nennies immediately screams for him to stop what he's doing. If that spell fails to kill the boss, the consequences will be absolutely disastrous. Shiroki completely ignores him. He has no intention of stopping. "If you worry about minor details, you will never accomplish anything," Shiroki retorts. Telling them to leave this to him, he unleashes his dark lightning. The boss is engulfed in terrifying black lightning, roaring in absolute agony. Watching the massive boss begin to collapse, Nennies frantically screams for everyone to run. It falls, the heavy impact making the entire Rainbow Bridge sway violently. The bridge is completely devastated, yet Sano is just glad to be alive. He was terrified. He genuinely thought he was going to die again. Looking down, he is relieved everyone is safe and the vehicle is intact. But his heart stops when he glances over toward the other side. A massive row of sharp, terrifying teeth suddenly looms in the darkness. Sano freezes. He is too terrified to make even a single sound. Suddenly, Shiroki flies over, and Sano notices the emblem on his uniform. It belongs to the Future Guild, currently ranked 3rd in the nation. Shiroki spots the bound bear nearby and lightly taps the spider silk. The threads instantly crack under his touch, and the magic spreads further. The giant beast is torn to pieces, leaving Sano completely speechless. Suddenly, a loud system notification rings out, pulling him back to reality. Endless level-up screens flash before him, but there are no dropped items. Standing right beside him, Shiroki seems to hear the chiming sound too. A notification pops up. He points out that Sano actually made these spider silks. He accidentally took the giant bear's reward, asking Sano to take it back. He hates stealing from others. Just then, Shiroki arrives, completely surprised. Spotting Sano, Shiroki warns that they must flee before the giant wakes up. Once awake, he will go berserk and launch massive area attacks, she explains. Sano is confused. Why not just defeat the boss while he is down? Unfortunately, Shiroki explains that high-level bosses have multiple phases. Raids must be handled phase by phase, depending on the monster's hidden abilities. When its health drops to 1/3, the boss will unleash its ultimate skill. These area attacks cover the entire battlefield once the boss goes completely berserk. They are now entering the third phase, where a protective barrier will appear. It absorbs nearby magic power, making all direct attacks useless. But wait, things are about to get even worse. The boss suddenly snaps its eyes open and roars in pure fury. It has awakened far too early, forcing Shiroki to look back at Sano. Wishing Sano luck, Shiroki warns him not to blame her if he dies. With that, she rushes toward the boss with nanais to resume their battle. Sano immediately moves to rescue everyone, shouting that the situation is critical. The monster has reached its third phase and is preparing a massive attack. There is simply no time left for them to escape the incoming blast. Everyone is paralyzed with fear upon hearing the grim warning. Sano must secure the Kalija dragon sword, promising to return it afterward. Sano tries to reassure them, but Morgan completely dismisses the plan. Even though Sano saved them twice despite his low-level rank, it is not enough. Morgan doubts that even with the legendary blade, Sano could win. Besides, the weapon is too fragile to be used multiple times. Realizing it still will not work, Sano hesitates until Ares suddenly speaks up. Ares explains that they need massive magic power to break the vehicle's seal. Unfortunately, the bandits' toxins prevent them from absorbing any energy at all. Luckily, Sano is basically a walking magic power source in this dungeon. His infinite magic generation skill makes him the ultimate battery. The moment he activates the skill, Ares is instantly filled with power. With the magic overflowing, the heavy transport vehicle's seal shatters instantly. Seeing his chance, Sano leaps inside, determined to keep his promise. Ares watches in disbelief, wondering why Sano would risk his own life. A teammate reminds him that Sano spared the giant bear earlier. Someone else wonders if women are simply too difficult to understand. Once on the transport vehicle, Sano is incredibly excited. The Kalija dragon sword is finally right within his reach. But suddenly, a sneaky bandit appears right behind him with a blade. Wait, is this really how his journey comes to an end? The villain plunges a blade straight into Sano's chest, dropping him. Sano falls backward, leaving the bandit to claim the chest for himself. Opening the heavy lid reveals a pitch-black legendary sword inside. A dark system message warns that his death will dissolve all spider silk. Just as warned, the spider silk snapped, and the entire transport vehicle plunged into the water, sinking deep into the pitch black depths. A prompt asked if he wanted to claim the item. Meanwhile, the assassin reached for the Kalija dragon sword. Sano grabbed his chance, reviving and standing up to run his blade straight through the assassin from behind. Sano was the type of guy who repays kindness with kindness and revenge with revenge. He finally had his hands on the Kalija dragon sword. He immediately used his Control-C skill to copy it, but a sudden system warning popped up. Due to his low level, the sword could not be copied. Sano stared at the screen in pure disbelief. How was this even possible? The sword required level 30, and he was already past level 50. He easily met the requirements, but right then, another disaster struck. That assassin from before was still breathing. He lunged back up, slashing Sano viciously and sending blood flying. The killer boasted that he almost brought shame to the Blood Tower Guild without his healing skills. He would have died as the blade returned to the assassin's hands. He mocked Sano. He was the type who returned revenge tenfold. This time he would make sure Sano had no escape. Thrusting his sword forward, Sano cursed he had come so far to die here. Suddenly, the Kalija dragon sword fused with its User copying its absolute absorption ability. What was happening, Sano wondered. But the system notifications kept rolling in, one after another. It continued, copying the Kalisha dragon's sword's level and absorbing. It was copying the passive defense skill, boosting defense by 35%. Unique Skill 1, Vampirism, was now fully absorbed. Unique Skill 2, Berserking, was absorbed as well. Every single ability of the Kalisha Dragon Sword was completely copied, anew. Message popped up: if Sano's health fell below 25%, the Weapons Protection Mode would trigger automatically. Unique Skill 2. Berserking would forcibly activate. Right then, the Rainbow Bridge boss was preparing its ultimate wide area attack. The situation looked incredibly bleak. But a massive burst of energy suddenly erupted from the seabed. It shot straight through the giant boss. Shiroki and Hunter Inasas stared in absolute disbelief as a message flashed, confirming the boss was defeated. The dungeon was cleared. Later, the Hunter Association issued a report. This afternoon at 4 p.m., the Rainbow Bridge dungeon outbreak had caused massive casualties, but thanks to their swift action, the area was pacified. The president shut off the broadcast, telling his men to fix their faces. Tiki spoke up. Didn't they successfully take down the boss? Shinoda cut in, noting the Rainbow Bridge dungeon was actually pacified just 3 months ago. He warned that dungeons can always re-erupt. An angry voice snapped at them all to shut up. How were they managing things when dungeons kept erupting one after the other like this? Nain, a quiet hunter sitting nearby, had zero interest in there. But trouble soon found her. Another voice pressed. Do ultimate bosses usually need over 5 months to recover from defeat? Did Na lie? 3 months ago, there was no winning strategy. Na wanted no part of their petty squabbling, growing completely furious. As they started pointing fingers at her, with a loud slap, she shattered the conference table with her palm. A massive fight was about to erupt. The association president immediately stepped forward to mediate the situation. He apologized for his rude staff, warning them that acting like this could get them killed, but seeing that the others still would not back down. Na finally spoke. Hearing is believing, she began, but seeing is the truth. No matter what I say, you won't believe me, she told them. That shockwave was actually the reward from defeating the Rainbow Bridge boss 3 months ago. If you don't believe me, ask the person next to me, she continued. She promised to take full responsibility for investigating the cause of the outbreak and would hold the negligent guild responsible. Right at that moment, Moore and Ares walked in, announcing they were from the International Hunter Association. They had an important update. The legendary Kalisha Dragon Sword has been stolen. Please prioritize assisting us in recovering the stolen sword, they urged. A skeptical voice from the room questioned if they unlocked the transport seal themselves on the vehicle when they were attacked earlier. Moore replied that it was because they accepted the request for hunter assistance. Shinoda Satoru from a major guild and Sono from the association were present. Hearing this left absolutely everyone in the room completely shocked. President Fua quickly pulled out his phone to search for clues, but found nothing. Only none knew Sono's true identity. Did Sono really steal that sword? Of course not. The Kalisha Dragon Sword was already stolen by the assassin who handed it over to the mastermind, Kurosaki. Just holding it boosts a user's level by 200%. Runes on the handle identify the user. For Kurosaki, spending millions to cause the outbreak was worth it. As the assassin reached for his pay, Kurosaki killed him. No honor among thieves. The fewer people who know his secrets, the better. The sword's durability decreased by 2 points, leaving only 8 points remaining. Kurosaki looked at the weapon in his hand and smiled. It wouldn't be fun if it broke before being repaired. Suddenly, Sono woke from his nightmare with a start. The mark on his neck emitted a pale blue light, indicating this Hourglass countdown is acting up again, Sono cursed upon waking up. Shinoda Satoru was overjoyed, expressing how afraid he was for his senior. He explained that another hunter actually saved him. In fact, he mobilized many hunters from the Great Sage Guild to search for him. They finally found him unconscious on a beach. He probably didn't know yet. But Shinoda Satoru is actually the son of the Great Sage Guild president. Shiro, no way. Inside the association president's office, a question arose. Did they really witness the death of Hunter Sono personally? The reply was clear. They saw him die with their own eyes. You aren't surprised. Sono remained perfectly calm. He had seen stranger things since becoming a hunter. Now they needed top-tier backup to help track down the sword. Hunter Nanais was assigned to lead this dangerous search operation. But that blade is highly unique. The Klesia dragon sword possesses ancient runes. To determine its wielder's level, he can easily track these runes, having felt them active just an hour ago. Before the theft, its durability was 10. Now it has decreased even further. They must find it before it disappears completely. 15 years ago, after the Great Catastrophe, Ari's mother vanished without a trace. This legendary sword is their only clue. It actually belongs to her. This is all the intel Nanais has gathered so far. Still, she suspects that Moore and Ari are hiding deep secrets. Honestly, even Sano seems to be hiding something right now. Shinoda Shiru quietly approached Nanais. Is she really planning to return? The major guilds would welcome her back in a heartbeat. Guilds should focus on safety, not just farming money. Dungeon negligence causes tragedies. Just look at today's Rainbow Bridge outbreak. If she proves negligence caused this chaos, she will hold them accountable. Is that why you won't return? Nanais just smiled warmly. She has too much work left at the association. Many duties call. Shiru sighed. His little daughter is all grown up now, pursuing her own path. Meanwhile, over at Central Hospital, Sano sat on the rooftop, quietly checking his interface. His updated status screen was absolutely insane. It displayed level 76 plus 200 bonus levels with advanced skills. He realized something huge. He couldn't copy the Klesia dragon sword directly, but he had completely absorbed all of its abilities. It was incredible. The Berserk skill caught his eye. It was incredibly powerful. It doubles his level and all stats for 1 full minute. Crazy. The cooldown is 1 day, triggering when health drops under 25%. He remembered how it instantly deleted a level 400 boss. The victory was total. Along with clearance rewards, he claimed a major new boss skill called Shockwave. His Control C skill also evolved. The absorbed Shockwave split into 2 brand new, powerful abilities. Behold, Inherent Vibration and Inherent Wave. His Giant Footprint skill upgraded too. When active, he can now combine Inherent Wave and Vampirism simultaneously. His copy ability had completely evolved. It was now Absorb and Fuse, and honestly, that's insanely broken. Standing alone in the hospital elevator, Sano chuckled to himself, quite creepy. A little girl nearby stared in absolute terror. Was this guy okay? He was just testing his new vibration skill. It felt incredibly strong. Sano flashed a deeply sinister grin, sending cold shivers down everyone's spines. The little girl whispered that the scary uncle was having an episode. Just as he stepped out of the elevator, a familiar voice echoed. Someone was scolding a patient, expressing deep relief that they were okay. They argued about running away from danger. Sano crept closer, curious. He wondered exactly who Hunter Nay was visiting at the hospital today. I am sorry for making you worry, a soft voice says as Nanny and Shinoda Satoru stand revealed as siblings, leaving Sono completely shocked. After a quick chat, Hunter Nanny starts asking about Sono's whereabouts. Overhearing this from a distance, Sono quickly ducks out of sight. Did they figure out he impersonated the Hunter Association to steal the sword? He needs to sneak away before anyone notices, but it is too late. Moore catches him red-handed, demanding where this little thief thinks he is going. With no escape in sight, Moore violently grabs Sono by the collar. He slams him hard against the wall, furious about the association lie. Moore refuses to believe a single word, no matter how Sono explains. They saw him get killed, yet here he is, alive and kicking. There is no way he is not working with those dangerous bandits. Moore draws his heavy long sword, preparing to unleash a deadly skill. Ares rushes forward to stop him, but Moore has completely lost his mind. He raises his sword, lunging to stab Sono through the chest. Just before the strike lands, Sono's inherent vibration skill suddenly activates. Blinding light bursts from his fingertips, slamming straight into the incoming blade. The heavy sword instantly shatters like glass, leaving Moore completely dumbfounded. As the weapon crumbles, the loud commotion draws the nearby siblings. They witness the entire scene, recognizing that familiar shockwave skill. It was the Rainbow Bridge boss's power. Could he be the savior who killed it? 15 years ago, chaotic disasters simultaneously struck the entire world. Hordes of monsters flooded out of dungeons, pouring directly into cities. Innocent citizens were slaughtered as thriving towns instantly turned to ash. Amidst the ruins, Arita encountered a mysterious entity from another realm. The being granted her a special power she thought was quite basic. Her new hunter skill operated very similarly to a computer program. It allowed her to completely restore any targeted object to its original state. She can mend shattered items and even heal critical physical injuries. Arita used this handy power on junk to make some quick cash. She occasionally acted as a healer, but the slow pay frustrated her. She desperately needed money, far more than this simple grind could offer. Her parents lay comatose after the disaster, and Arita desperately wanted them back. Unfortunately, restoring humans required an absolutely staggering amount of magic. With her current low mana, she could only fix minor scratches. Since only hunters could absorb raw magic, she had to act fast. Arita joined a raid team, handling their heavy logistics and healing. But as an unawakened civilian, entering dungeons was incredibly dangerous. It felt like facing a pack of lions completely empty-handed. She risked her life daily just to harvest a tiny speck of magic. Yet her smug teammates constantly treated her with total contempt. When a brutal raid went south, only a severely wounded Arita survived. Staring at her dying companions, she coldly refused to help them. Instead, she stripped their dropped gear, declaring she was done with this life. Suddenly, a mysterious man appeared, offering her the exact power she craved. "Sign a contract with me, I am Kurosaki," just like that Arasara was. Taken away by him, eventually joining his idol group, but she wondered if someone was secretly envying her, getting to eat delicious food 3 times a day while keeping her perfect figure. What a blessing, Kurosaki told her. He still remembered the first time they met. There was a dying guy right there on the ground, but she only cared about stealing his gear. That was when Kurosaki knew they were exactly the same kind of trash. He made it clear from the start, as long as their contract stood, he would never interfere, so why did he need her in a dungeon this time? Arasara asked him. In response, Kurosaki pulled out the damaged Klesia dragon sword. Repairing it with her restoration ability required an absolute mountain of magic. Kurosaki promised this would be the very last dungeon trip he demanded. Hearing those words, Arasara got incredibly hyped up. Was he saying? The legendary infinite item generator was hidden inside. Yes, they had finally found it, Kurosaki confirmed, even though their deal kept her out of dungeons. Usually, she had to tag along just this once. This was the absolute final time. Meanwhile, Sono and his crew arrived at the Future Guild headquarters. The contact NASA brought up turned out to be Shiroki, though the notorious Future Guild is the country's second largest with a sketchy reputation. Their tracking and intel department is still absolutely regarded as top-tier, world-class material. Shiroki stepped into the office to lay out their findings. Now here is where things get interesting. The mysterious Blood Tower is making moves. They had locked their eyes onto the legendary Gargoyle Snow Mountain. Discovered 15 years ago, this freezing hell had never been cleared. Records labeled it as the single most problematic dungeon in existence, with only 2 specialized raid groups ever surviving inside it. Deep inside lurks a hidden boss, the massive giant gargoyle, defeating. It drops a secret reward called the Giant is Heart, the key to infinite generation, an absolute game changer, though Shiroki did not need it. But why was Blood Tower targeting this item for the Klesia Dragon Sword? Were they trying to unleash the sword to crush the boss, to pull this off? They were putting out anonymous ads on the Dark Silk. They were recruiting a mountain raid team of 30 high-level members. Every recruit had to be level 90 or higher. Behind this is Blood Tower, a guild known for assassinating innocent teams. Just to steal their loot, these guys are pure villain material. Hearing this, NASA stepped right up to Shiroki and demanded to know if they were planning to raid the mountain first. They had to move immediately before Blood Tower secured the heart. She asked Shiroki if he had a team ready to roll. Shiroki could only curse his luck for getting dragged into this. By that stubborn woman, still, he gathered up his elite squad and headed out, bringing Sono and the rest of the crew. Stepping into the freezing blizzard, they immediately ran into rock giants. The monsters were level 40 with weak attacks, but their sheer numbers were endless, even. Though they were not high tier, they kept respawning as long as their cores stayed intact. That made them a massive headache, Shiroki muttered about how he truly hated coming to such a hellish place. Raising his staff high, he watched a massive swarm of gargoyles take to the air. Under his dark magic, the airborne beasts rapidly swarmed into the center. Explode, he commanded, and a split second later, a massive blast echoed, instantly turning the entire swarm into heaps of rubble. Clearing the field, he warned his teammates to crush any falling cores. With that easy win, the future guild hunters instantly let their guard down. One team member even laughed, bragging about how incredibly simple this was. Just like that, Shiroki relied on his dark magic to sweep the area. Sano watched this display from a distance, left completely and utterly speechless. Shiroki had complained so much, yet now he was leading the charge. Ares' intel suggested this dungeon was an inductive type. Usually dungeons are split into areas, meaning you can navigate normal ones by taking shortcuts and skipping straight to the final boss. But here, the group had to clear every single sector sequentially. Any failure midway meant the hidden zones would never open. That meant slaying a massive wave of gargoyles before the Master Beast would even reveal itself. The team had to move with absolute speed to reach that secret zone first. If the boss dropped the key to the hidden chamber, they had to beat the Blood Tower Guild to it. Sano, however, did not care about some secret boss. His sole motivation was helping Ares reclaim her Kia Dragon Sword. Sano quickly activated Control 5, unleashing a massive wave of giant foot spider silk. The sticky threads trapped the gargoyles, letting him trigger his inherent wave. Instantly, the monsters shattered into tiny fragments. He even struck a pretty dramatic pose. After all, heroes never look back at explosions. Meanwhile, Ares unleashed frozen magic, instantly locking the beasts in solid ice, combined with Moore's precise slashes. They shattered the icy monsters easily, but the gargoyles kept coming, proving to be a genuine threat. Several vanguard hunters struggled to keep pace, taking heavy damage until Nana jumped into battle. With a clean sweep, she severed a beast's arm before raising her hand to charge a heavy shock wave. The blast turned the monster to dust. Turning around, Nana checked on the wounded fighters before catching sight of a very familiar face. Satoru, what on earth are you doing here? She asked. It was indeed her younger brother, Satoru. He shot back, asking why he could not be there to support Sano. Nana called it absolute nonsense, but as it turned out, the boy had thrown a massive tantrum when Sano first planned this raid. He had whined about wanting to join, crying that he simply had to tag along. He argued that if Sano got lost, he could act as a guide. Sano had been completely helpless against his pleas. She agrees, but Sono has one condition: she can only join if she becomes a member of his team. Hearing this, Nana immediately feels a massive headache coming on. What are two low-level hunters doing, forming a rookie team like that, she wonders. But Satoru Shinoda immediately steps up to defend Sono. Do not underestimate Sono, Satoru insists, because he knows his true power. He personally saw Sono slice the Rainbow Bridge dungeon boss right in half. Thinking back to everything she saw lately, Nana admits it is actually possible. But a big question remains: how on earth did he actually pull it off? Meanwhile, over in another area, the Blood Tower Guild is busy clearing monsters. They shred the gargoyles while Kurosaki and Sarah rest near a cave. Kurosaki points out that they do not even need to join the fight. They can just use stealth skills to blend in with the main vanguard. Sarah warns that while stealth is handy, they must remain extremely cautious. High-level hunters have incredibly sharp senses and could easily spot them. Kurosaki changes the subject, asking how the magic absorption process is going. He notes that the device is a highly advanced magic transmitter. Sarah says it was incredibly expensive and requires 100 kills to fill. She used 10 of them in the last dungeon to trigger a massive outbreak. But fixing the Keisha Dragon Sword will take double that amount. She asks if his goal is to use the fully restored blade to take down the incredibly powerful hidden boss waiting for them. She knows a massive barrier blocks the path in this hidden zone, and the only way to shatter it is by using the Keisha Dragon Sword. She demands to know where he got all this classified intel. But Kurosaki has no intention of sharing his secrets with her. He coldly tells her to focus on the job and ignore details. Staring into his terrifying eyes, Sarah quietly makes up her mind. As long as the contract stands, his actions do not matter to her. She is willing to do absolutely anything to save her beloved parents. Later that night, after they clear hundreds of gargoyles, things mutate. The ground violently splits open as stone fragments swirl in the air. A terrifying, massive silhouette slowly emerges from the pitch-black darkness. The giant snow mountain boss, Curveball, finally reveals itself. A level 150 beast reaching out with its giant hand. The hunters panic, shouting that the massive monster is far too big. Suddenly, Kurosaki steps forward and unleashes a blast of dark magic. The attack completely shatters the boss, leaving everyone in absolute shock. But the broken stone pieces immediately start pulling back together. Nearby hunters freeze in terror as the beast begins to reform. Kurosaki quickly fires another dark spell to blast it apart again. But the core remains unharmed, giving Sono the perfect chance to strike. He immediately fires his giant foot spider, Silk, directly at the core. Thick webs wrap around the target, but they are simply too weak. The monster shrugs them off, regenerating with even more terrifying power. Someone curses in despair. With every recovery, the beast grows stronger. Gargoyle debris everywhere. They need a plan, and they need it fast. Just then, Nanai's swung her blazing spear, charged straight ahead, but then it had absolutely zero effect. Damn it, we can't melt the core, don't let this beast fool you. Despite its arrogant attitude, this mid-boss is actually the most annoying obstacle in the entire dungeon. Defeating enough gargoyles will trigger its appearance, but here is the real catch. This monster can piece itself back together using the fallen debris. This insane regeneration ability makes inductive dungeons an absolute nightmare. Most regular hunters would have run away screaming or ended up completely wiped out. Honestly, this thing easily matches the final boss of any normal dungeon. There are only two options: either shatter the core or completely melt the Surrounding debris it uses for healing. Both choices require massive effort. After exchanging just a few blows, Nanai's is already drenched in sweat. Suddenly, the monster regenerates right behind her, spinning around on pure instinct. Nanai's unleashes her blazing flames once more, dissolving the stone. Son watches the fight anxiously, knowing his powerful Kishia dragon sword could end this in seconds, but drawing it would expose his secrets to Ares and the rest of the group. Suddenly, Sono remembers a very special item. Stored in his inventory, an object called the Giant Bare Foot. It has two unique abilities. One lets him seize control of a target temporarily, while the other inflicts internal damage. Sono immediately absorbs the item to unlock them. These new skills are amazing. His first ability strengthens his sticky spider silk to make it virtually unbreakable. The second skill lets him bypass enemy defenses and steal 15% of their total health and mana. Immediately, Sono leaps straight into action. Now they have a shot. Meanwhile, Nanai's is still desperately trying to incinerate the remaining stone. Even a top hunter like Nanai's cannot burn mana forever. At this rate, she will be in deep trouble. Just as her energy runs out, the beast reaches its massive stone claw toward her, but in the nick of time, hundreds of glowing spider threads erupt forward, binding the massive monster like an ancient mummy. Talk about a clutch save. Everyone is left absolutely speechless. Sono shouts over to Shiroki, demanding that he unleash another heavy spell. He will hold the moving core in place while Shiroki strikes. Shiroki instantly unleashes his dark magic, blowing the towering boss into tiny pieces. As the glowing core is exposed, a wave of sticky spider threads instantly wrap around it, sealing it tight. This completely cuts off its connection to the surrounding rocks. The plan actually worked. Shiroki is stunned. They just neutralized a high-tier dungeon boss. Using basic trash items, the entire group erupts into cheers. But watching from the shadows, Kurosaki and Arita Sera had planned to steal their hard-earned victory. However, Sono's bizarrely strong spider silk abilities have completely ruined their ambush strategy. Stop gathering mana, Arita Sera orders. Move up the schedule and prepare for battle. Instantly, the Hidden Blood Tower guild members begin moving in. Thanks to that strange kid, their flawless plan has gone sideways. Grabbing that core looks incredibly tough, meaning he will have to step in himself. When asked who should shatter it, everyone agrees. Since Sano captured the beast, he should destroy it, and he does not hesitate. He needs that sweet reward. With one swift thrust, he strikes. The core shatters. The gargoyle is finally defeated. Glorious level-up notification chimes immediately ring out for the entire team. A system alert confirms he destroyed the moving gargoyle's core. He secures a rare reward, a key meant to unlock the giant's sealed heart. This item unlocks the dark door, while also granting access to a hidden zone. Sano's level suddenly skyrockets from 85 to 285, boosting his skills. His skill proficiency reaches level 5, and his profession hits level 10. Sano is absolutely amazed, realizing the sword's crazy effect pushed him this far. He is now level 285, 15 away from level 300. Sano laughs triumphantly, while Shiosaki watches from behind, completely stunned. Shiosaki is utterly baffled, wondering why a level 85 rookie is so happy. Scoffing to himself, he questions who actually helped a rookie catch the boss. The idea of an advanced hunter assisting a mere beginner seems completely ridiculous. It has to be an illusion, but just then, massive black pillars erupt. They burst from the ground, leaving the entire group looking on in confusion. Identical stone pillars keep rising up, completely surrounding them in a circle. Runes cover the stone, warnings cry out, but it is too late. The entire zone inside the stone barrier detonates in a violent, fiery blast. Every nearby fighter gets caught, leaving the future guild hunters severely wounded. As they lie broken, a mysterious figure slowly steps out from the smoke. The newcomer remarks that there is absolutely nothing money cannot buy in this world. Abandoning your conscience makes securing victory incredibly simple, he notes. He locks his gaze, saying he found them, and issues a cold command. The giant foot orb web immediately begins to dissolve from the inside out. Sano flies straight out, spotting the masked villain holding the dragon sword. He immediately raises his blade and charges, demanding the weapon be handed over. But Sano's reckless strike is completely useless against such overwhelming power. The masked figure casually praises his cleverness as he keeps up the pressure. He acknowledges how Sano used the web to take down the boss. His entire plan lies in ruins. With a vicious swing, the masked man slashes directly down at Sano. The blade strikes, causing Nanai to scream out in pure panic. Losing all composure, she raises her spear to protect her ally. She unleashes her ultimate technique, Hell's Fuse, just as Aris notices. Aris desperately tries to hold her back, but she is way too late. A stream of terrifying hellfire shoots directly toward the villain, Kurosaki. Once the smoke clears, everyone is horrified to see Nanai badly injured instead. Shiosaki yells out in a panic, telling the team to use recovery spells. Aris immediately steps in to warn Shiosaki about the danger. Magic is completely blocked, as the recent blast filled the entire area. With a thick toxic gas, stopping them from recovering their power. Magic power, this is the Blood Tower Guild's standard dirty trick, suddenly black. Liquid bubbles up from the floor, and Kurosaki reappears right in front of. Everyone completely untouched, everyone is absolutely stunned. It is shadow movement. He has mastered the highest level stealth technique in existence. Kurosaki approaches the defeated guild master. He spots something. The boss key is lying nearby on the stone floor, and as he picks it up, the item's ownership transfers directly to him. His goal is complete. But he has no intention of leaving just yet. He grabs Sono's neck, lifting him up and slamming him against a pillar. He must die. Sono gasps, mocking Kurosaki. I never expected a petty thief to be such scum. With a smirk, Sono acts. He quietly triggers his web. Threads wrap around Kurosaki, completely trapping his body in silk. Using his giant bear skill, he triggers a devastating chain strike. Instantly, the webs sprout deadly spikes, squeezing inward with crushing force. Until they form a massive, spiked sphere, payback time. That is the price for stealing his sword. Now watch as the webs dissolve, Sono freezes. There is nobody inside. Suddenly, Kurosaki steps out right behind him. A close call. If his shadow swap technique had not saved him, he would be dead. Kurosaki readies a fatal blow, but Sono just laughs, nickname. He is known as the moving magic charging station, unstoppable. Even now he can make it work. Kurosaki shrugs, last words. Goodbye, but suddenly, Kurosaki feels a massive surge of power. Where is this mana coming from? No idea, but it feels perfect. Time to end the Blood Tower Guild. A giant light forms. In the sky, the spectators are stunned by this massive, wide area spell. Sono watches in shock, paralyzed by this immense magical storm. How could he possibly gather enough energy for a spell this massive? His shadow movement is fully countered. There is no escaping this trap. He has only one move left. Sarah, do it now, roger that. The magical boxes surrounding her fly open, releasing raw energy. It forms a massive orb. A command echoes out, reset the mountain maze to its initial state. Instantly, the entire peak. Violent winds howl, trapping them in freezing currents. Luckily, Kurosaki quickly deploys a barrier, protecting his entire team. Through the storm, the shattered pieces of the gargoyles begin gathering. Slowly rebuilding their stone bodies, the monsters have revived once again. The dungeon map has fully reset. Swarms of monsters rush forward. A massive gargoyle winds up a punch. Poison gas fills the air, blocking all magic power absorption. He must keep the shield up, or the poison will wipe them out. But if he defends, he cannot fight back. Talk about a hopeless situation. As Kurosaki weighs his options, Nanai's suddenly steps into the fray. She fires a massive blast of hellfire directly at the oncoming beast. Kurosaki is shocked. How can she still cast her magic spells? She smiles. Did you forget what Sono said about being a charger? Generating infinite magic power and sharing it with allies, that is the rumor. Sano's supposed unique skill, but that is completely impossible, only mage type. Hunters can pull off those crazy feats, and Sano is absolutely not one. High-level hunters. Like him and Nanai's need massive amounts of magic power to activate skills, and yet, everyone present had their own magic reserves instantly refilled by Sano. No one has ever heard of such an infinite skill. If it is true, then instead of searching for the giant's heart, they should invite Sano to their guild. He did not expect the Blood Tower Guild could initialize mazes. That explains why the Rainbow Bridge maze has been continuously rioting in such a short time. The big question is how many times they can use this ability. They probably cannot do it again soon. So far, no hidden maze has been found. There must be some secret condition they are unaware of. They must have done something to trigger the hidden maze with 100% probability, but it is still strange. There are definitely fewer gargoyles here compared to the original Snow Mountain. Regardless, they need to quickly clear out these beasts. Then they can finally catch up to the Blood Tower Guild. But what about Sano? They hope he survived. Meanwhile, in a corner of Snow Mountain, Sano slowly crawled out of his web cocoon, cursing the bastard who used the Kisha Dragon Sword's ability at the very last second. Fortunately, Sano managed to wrap himself in webs at the crucial moment. He almost died, but thanks to this experience, Sano now knows how to draw out the sword's power. Speaking of which, this place is completely white. He wonders which direction to even go. Meanwhile, at the Hunter Association in the island nation, they tell President Shinoda not to worry. President Shiosaki from the Future Guild is with them, after all. Getting involved with the Blood Tower Guild is always a massive problem. They still have far too little information about them. But then, a new message suddenly arrives. The Blood Tower Guild apparently has connections with the Star Stadium Guild. But how is that possible? Are they sure they are talking about that world-class guild? Star Stadium, that maze was part of the riots during the Great Disaster. 15 years ago, the gargoyles that crawled out back then were more terrifying than any demon from hell. Hunter Nishimoto Tamoka, one of the world's strongest mages, was the one who sealed them. Without her ultimate sacrifice, the consequences would have been unimaginable. The giant's heart, sealed in that hidden maze, is now gaining global attention. Both the Star Stadium Guild and the Blood Tower Guild are groups that will do absolutely anything to achieve their goals, so it is not surprising they would. Also, Ares from the International Hunter Association is actually Hunter Nishimoto's daughter. This time she wants to investigate the truth behind her mother's tragic death, but Hunter Nishimoto has not been officially declared dead. Could she possibly still be alive after all these years? It turns out that 5 years ago, a survivor actually walked out of this maze, claiming he caught a glimpse of Hunter Nishimoto's figure. This revelation leaves the others completely shocked. Interestingly, that hidden maze actually has several entrances. Right then, someone bursts through the door, yelling to the president that the maze has suddenly turned red. The president quickly switches on the TV, revealing a screen of absolute chaos. A sudden maze outbreak is tearing right through the middle of the city. Terrified citizens run for their lives as dangerous monsters appear. Gargoyles, to be exact. What is happening? Meanwhile, deep in those frozen mountains, Blood Tower Guild members are steadily advancing. It is the first time they have ever seen Kurosaki injured, making them worry about their strategy. That is none of your concern, the leader snaps. Soon, they reach the hidden maze deep within Gargoyle Snow Mountain, with Satoru Shinoda secretly following close. behind them using stealth skills, so this is the hidden area, the Blood Tower Guild. Members approach the entrance, only to be stopped by an invisible barrier. Boss, we can't get through here, we are blocked. The Star Stadium Guild really proves they are top tier, since the intel they shared is completely correct. This area is the masterpiece of Nishimoto Tamoka, the most powerful mage hunter from 15 years ago. The giant's heart is sealed inside this hidden maze. He orders everyone to prepare to break the barrier, warning them to stay alert. Immediately, the Blood Tower Guild members fan out. Arita begins preparing the sword for its restoration. Suddenly, Kurosaki senses a presence trailing them. He wonders who could be dumb enough to sneak around and spy on the Blood Tower Guild. Satoru Shinoda is frozen in terror, praying he has not been spotted. In a flash, Kurosaki swings his sword straight down. Meanwhile, across the frozen mountain, a strange little stone creature is out hunting. It spots a level 30 snow mountain berserk rabbit. These beasts live near hidden mazes, going wild from hunger and dropping valuable magic stones when beaten. With just one strike, a red magic stone drops. The little stone quickly grabs it and scampers off, heading back to its master. This master is none other than Sono. Good job, eat it up, Sono tells the creature, and it immediately swallows the stone and starts chewing. This little pet was actually crafted from the core of a defeated moving gargoyle boss, channeling magic into it. Summons the beast, which has the skill to freely alter its shape. Its second ability lets it turn into heavy armor to protect its master, while the third lets them share senses with the gargoyle, sharing both vision and hearing. Higher levels grant a much wider sharing range. Sono looks down at the core in his hand with pride, thinking how incredible it is. One core makes one gargoyle. If he could somehow duplicate these, he would have a personal army, allowing him to clear dungeons entirely alone. Once upgraded to level 10, this magical gargoyle can easily shift its form and link senses. Suddenly, the little stone detects someone nearby and rushes straight toward the intruder. It turns out to be Satoru Shinoda. Spotting Sono, he runs over and hugs him, exclaiming he thought they would never meet again. When Satoru realized the Blood Tower Guild found the hidden maze, he immediately thought of Sono. He was terrified they had spotted him, but then instead they spot another stalker, likely a future member of the guild. A girl is with them, seemingly gathering a massive amount of magic power. They begin a strange ritual, and Shinoda explains she initiated the maze. He thought about stopping her back then, but he was just too terrified. Shinoda apologizes. Sano, however, reassures him that he did a great job. Shinoda notes the girl looked familiar, almost like a distant memory. He then asks if that creature should keep following them. Sano chuckles, realizing he completely forgot to introduce his little sidekick. Shinoda instantly gushes. How can a beast be this incredibly cute? He never expected Senior Sano to be a familiar controller too. Soon they reach their destination. The hidden maze lies just ahead. Sano knows fighting the Blood Tower Guild with just 2 people is suicide. So Sano orders Shinoda to go fetch Nanais and Shirasaki immediately. He will stay behind to watch them. Shinoda feels instantly let down, hating to part with Sano so soon. To keep him safe, Sano hands over the moving gargoyle's core. He calls him a little brother, warning not to judge by looks. The beast is incredibly powerful in battle. Shinoda is moved to tears. He asks if he can really accept something so precious. Sano replies that it is nothing special, since his supply is endless. With that, Shinoda heads off, carrying the core and his new companion. Watching them leave, Sano pulls out another core to make a new gargoyle. He designs its look exactly as he wants, soon finishing a bird type. Through sensory sharing, Sano can easily watch Kurosaki and the others. He focuses on Aridasara, who is currently holding the Klesia dragon sword. Violent magical power surges from the collection boxes surrounding her. She uses her unique control ability, to restore the weapon's durability. Right now, the blade is sitting at a mere 6% durability. Suddenly, the numbers tick up fast, instantly hitting 100%. The restoration succeeds, but it completely drains her. Kurosaki yells it is enough, grabbing the blade. He is thrilled to finally swing the legendary blade without holding back. Honestly, who wouldn't be shocked seeing a shattered weapon fix itself like that? Restoring durability is insane. Sano wonders if she is a cursed user too. His intel says her control skill resets, objects to their original state. Sano can copy skills, but they always come with massive limitations. This makes them extremely difficult to use, even after copying them. Looking closely at Aridasara, Sano quickly makes a quiet, firm decision. He needs to secure an alliance with her first. Meanwhile, Kurosaki gets ready. Kurosaki holds the blade, slowly piercing the defensive barrier to break the seal. Immediately, the heavy sealing chains begin to violently clash and rattle. A massive magic circle suddenly erupts right underneath Kurosaki's feet. Without the info from the Star Stadium Guild, they would be helpless. Kurosaki notes that even this key wouldn't have broken the barrier alone. With a deep breath, he plunges the sword into the circle's center. Only this legendary sword can break the seal. This seal was Hunter. Nishimoto's masterpiece, created 15 years ago, the original owner of the Kishia Dragon's sword was her husband. Hunter Nishimoto had set up a barrier that only her husband's blade could break. Her husband was Frederick Shu, the world's greatest swordmaster. Kurosaki rotated the blade 90 degrees. Instantly, the magic circle begins to shift. Dazzling white light bursts outward from the center, high above the gargoyles. Are completely shattered by this immense power. They simply couldn't survive the blast. Gradually, the barrier's power begins to fade, finally dissolving to reveal the true entrance to the hidden maze. The lost maze of Gargoyle Snow Mountain has finally reappeared after 15 years. It is time to find our real objective, Kurosaki declares. The giant's heart, Sono watches his mentor, struggling with a massive choice. Should he follow alone or wait for backup? It is a massive gamble. Now watch, a brutal scene unfolds down south in the S-rank maze. Dismembered bodies litter the ground with only one man left standing, the fallen man asks, I was your only target, so why kill everyone? The killer smiles, if I only took you out, I would be a murderer. But if everyone dies, he says, it just looks like a tragic maze accident. Instantly, the defeated man dissolves into a pool of blood. This is Control A. When a user dies, their power transfers to the next capable person. This means the standing man just stole his victim's cursed power by killing him. Suddenly, a sharp pain shoots through his neck as 3 hourglass marks appear. The red one is brand new. Feeling the fresh surge of stolen power, he activates Control A. Select. All blue inverted triangles flash above every single corpse. Then Control Cut is activated, targeting all of them. In the next second, a massive void tears open right in front of him, devouring everything in sight. Suddenly, an elf appears behind him. The elf remarks, your skill seems to have evolved again. Instead of erasing targets one by one, your range has clearly expanded significantly. The man-size stealing cursed skills requires murder, which is a real hassle, but what is worse is that it still won't evolve. Unfortunately, this remains the only way to steal another's cursed power. Unless they can locate Control C, they have been searching for Control C for over 10 years, but there is still zero news. The elf doubts if C even exists, but the man insists he does. Believe me, he exists, and isn't that F guy searching for him too? We will get news soon. Meanwhile, intelligence shows that Control H is currently with the Blood Tower Guild, meaning they should have already broken through the barrier set by Hunter Nishimoto. Control C matters, but they must secure the giant's heart first. It is a crucial item to fully unleash the potential of your cursed power. Back in the hidden maze, the Team gathers to explore. For now, there are no enemies in sight. No monsters were found. Their targets had moved on. They knew they had to pick up the pace and catch up quickly. Suddenly, Shinoda Satoru's feet glowed, a magic circle. Instantly, everyone trapped inside the glowing circle vanished completely. Sono watched helplessly as they all disappeared. Nanais and Sono anxiously rushed straight toward the glowing spot. A massive magic circle flared up on the ground with a blinding flash of light. They too were instantly teleported away, landing elsewhere. But Shinoda Satoru and Shurasaki were absolutely nowhere to be found. How could they be missing when they had followed them right in? Just then, a massive beast descended from above to swallow Sono. Nanais reacted instantly, rushing forward to swing her blade at the beast. She clean sliced its head off, ending the danger immediately. Why on earth are there dinosaur-type monsters in this bizarre place? It feels like they have been sent to an entirely different world. Someone suggests this might actually be a multidimensional maze. But another counters that those were all destroyed 15 years ago. Still, how else can anyone explain what is happening right now? After all, teleportation circles are key markers of these mazes. They bridge completely different spaces together. Once a circle is activated, a door to another world opens right up. Perhaps this is why Hunter Nishimoto sealed this place up. Shinoda Satoru and Shurasaki were likely sent to another world. To find them, they must clear the maze and reach the giant's heart. With their minds made up, they declare that the real battle begins now. Meanwhile, things outside the maze are going downhill fast, absolute chaos. The maze has turned red, letting loose swarms of destructive gargoyles. Panicked citizens flee for their lives while hunters try to fight back. But the gargoyles keep reviving endlessly as long as their cores are intact. To make matters worse, the magical densities are totally unbalanced. This makes it incredibly hard for mages to cast large-scale spells. Their overall combat power is severely limited as a result. A hunter curses that left eye for never being around when needed most. With its infinite magic power generation, this fight would be a joke. Just as a bald warrior gets cornered, a bright flash of sword light cuts through. A blond man arrives, slicing a gargoyle clean in half with one strike. He overheard them, asking what this infinite magic power skill is. The bald warrior quickly explains everything he knows to repay the favor. The blond man has never heard of such a legendary skill before. He wonders if it could really be him as two massive magical presences appear. They stand high up on the rooftop of the association building. It is the presidents of the nation's two strongest guilds. A giant gargoyle flies straight for them, forcing them to take action. Knowing casualties will only mount, Taksuki-go immediately jumps down. He activates his stone armor skill as he plummets toward the beast. Go was encased head to toe in stone. Suddenly, a deafening crash, the transformed. Taksuki-go emerged from the smoke. By then, the gargoyle was already there, but with just one casual, effortless punch, Taksuki-go completely shattered it. Immediately he charged forward like a beast. Shiro also stepped up, unleashing a magical bombardment, a brilliant flash of energy. Struck the ground, a clear path opened for Takeuchi-go to reach. The boss, the monster, swung a giant fist at him, but Takeuchi-go didn't flinch. Instead, he raised his own fist to meet it head-on with one punch. Then too, the boss's body cracked. The next second, it shattered to pieces, exposing its red core. He wasn't letting some old guy claim this boss not a single chance. He quickly crushed the glowing core to powder. The maze riot was over, done, but as they celebrated, the blonde spy from earlier had already gathered key intel. Control F reported that Takeuchi-go doesn't use control keys. Truly, he is worthy of being the island's #1 guild president. Clearing a massive riot in minutes is insane, even without using keys. He gathered valuable data. He recalled that control Plus was still inside that chaotic maze. he just hoped the guy wasn't dead. Meanwhile, seeking the giant's heart, members of the Blood Tower Guild pushed deep into the hidden maze, suddenly countless. Zombies swarmed them. Too bad they were just weaklings compared to the legendary sword. Kurosaki swung his blade just once, obliterating them instantly. With those monsters cleared, they headed straight toward the giant puppet heart's boss room. Suddenly, a dazzling white light erupted from beneath their feet. The very next second, they stood before a massive stone door. Kurosaki immediately pulled out the key he snatched earlier and shoved it inside. As the gate slowly creaked open, they walked inside. Massive statues lined the walls. Standing completely still, no boss was in sight, but Aridasara felt an intense, suffocating pressure. She wondered if this was happening because she was not an actual hunter, but before anyone could think, a colossal stone palm slammed down with a brutal crash, flattening one unfortunate member into complete mush. One of the statues had animated, standing tall right before them. They shouted in panic that the statue was moving, but it was already too late. The surrounding stone guardians fully awakened, trapping the entire Blood Tower Guild. Aridasara stood there completely frozen in absolute shock. At the chaos, this immediately enraged Kurosaki, who yelled at her to stop spacing out and quickly use her healing skills on their fallen comrade. Aridasara snapped back to reality, remembering her duty. She immediately ran over, pulling the magic devices she collected out of her bag. To her horror, she discovered that all the magic power was leaking out. This made no sense, since even elite mages could not break those seals. Worse yet, all that power was flowing in one single direction: the Blood Tower fighters desperately clashed with the statues, but they were hopelessly outmatched. Kurosaki frantically ordered his team to use landmines, but something was completely wrong. Stealth and landmines were totally locked. Activated, a stone giant strikes with brutal force, making Kurosaki's eyes widen in shock. His teammate is dead. In seconds, the others are wiped. Blood Tower Guild members are completely gone. How is this happening, he wonders. You damn stone monsters. Kurosaki raises his blade, preparing a devastating skill. But a system alert blocks him. You lack the mana to unleash Kishia Dragon Sword skill. The warning leaves him frozen, as Kurosaki stands there completely dazed. A massive statue's fist is already swinging. Meanwhile, on the other side, Aridasara follows a dense trail of mana to a platform. All that energy is being sucked straight into a floating cube. What kind of relic is this? She wonders. The moment Aridasara touches it, a massive ruby heart appears. Could this really be the giant's heart? But why is it taking mana instead of giving it off? Suddenly, the giant's heart pulses with violent energy, sensing danger. Aridasara spins around to run. Too late, a piercing crimson beam fires from the core, tearing right through her side. She collapses in absolute agony. A statue looms over her, raising its massive blade to crush her. At this exact second, Kurosaki blinks in using his shadow movement, barely blocking the lethal strike. For Aridasara, he quickly grabs a rare healing potion, splashing it over her bleeding wound. Then he scoops her up, desperate to escape. But a cold system chime rings out. The giant's heart is fully active. Boss battle initiating. The massive stone exit begins to slide shut. Kurosaki tries to trigger shadow movement, but another system alert stops him. Insufficient mana to cast shadow movement. Is this a sick joke? Where did all his mana go? If they cannot break out now, they are dead. At this rate, they will both be sealed inside. Damn it. Left with no options, Kurosaki grabs Aridasara, hurling her toward the closing door with everything he has. She slides roughly across the floor. Why did you save me? She cries. If you survive, you can fix everything right. You idiot, I am no hunter. Where can I possibly find enough mana to save you? Opening her eyes, she sees Sono standing over her. This strange guy, he actually has the rare ability to share his own mana with others. Right now, Sono is doing just that, pouring his energy directly into her. With enough mana, you can easily heal your wounds, right? Aridasara stares at Sono in absolute shock. How does he even know about her secret skill? A bit later, a fully healed Aridasara sits quietly. Her hands bound, she is a prisoner now, despite being the Blood Tower Guild healer. She survived a mortal blow and recovered instantly. They realize they must dig into her background once they escape, but what can they do now? They fought so hard to reach this room, yet the door is locked tight. It only opens from the other side, requiring a key. They are completely trapped inside forever. Is this the dark fate of those who went missing? Nearby, Sono is quietly wrestling with a massive dilemma. Talk about an awkward situation. He actually copied the key earlier, but how can he explain having it? He decides to invent a quick lie. Sono starts reaching for the key, but suddenly Aridasar steps forward, gently touching the massive door with her bare hand. To their disbelief, her arm passes straight through both the barrier and Aridasara. The robe flashed with matching runes, and the heavy door slowly swung open. It belonged to Eris's mother, somehow reacting directly to the ancient seal. With the path clear, Sono listened. He caught every word. He knew Eris was the master key, a must-have partner for exploring this dungeon. Seriously, who wouldn't want an overpowered key on their team? But reality quickly set in as they checked their magic reserves. Their energy was plummeting, sucked away by that massive, beating heart. Worse, those statues returned. Stone giants blocked their path again. Sono didn't panic. He copied their magical reserves and prepared to paste. He spammed the execute command, creating an endless loop of power. Instantly, blue notification boxes flooded the room like a glitching screen. A massive storm of energy exploded from him, drowning the chamber. Even the heart's greedy drains couldn't keep up with his infinite output. Arita Sarah stared in absolute shock, her mind racing with possibilities. With a force like that, she might actually save her parents. Meanwhile, Nanais felt his reserves refill and launched into action. His blade flashed, and he sliced a stone giant clean in two. Not wanting to be left behind, Shirazaki channeled his dark lightning. The black bolts completely obliterated the closest target in seconds. But more statues closed in, only making Shirazaki grin with excitement. He laughed, declaring they would make perfect punching bags for his stress. A sweeping wave of shadows reduced the entire group to dust. Among the debris, Arita Sarah spotted a battered figure on the floor. It was Kurosaki, bloody, broken, and hanging on by a thread. She rushed over, but Sono beat her to it, looking down coldly. He picked up the fallen Ka dragon sword from the bloodied ground. Having his legendary weapon back in hand felt absolutely incredible. Best of all, its durability was now completely maxed out again. Now he targeted Kurosaki to copy his signature shadow movement skill. But the system denied him, saying the target level was too high. Before he could sigh, a secret override prompt flashed on screen. Since Kurosaki held such strong hostility, the system offered two brutal paths. Kill the target for his skill, or forcibly rip it away. This forced theft was only possible when Kurosaki fell below 15% health. The drain was absolute. The victim would lose everything forever. Looking at the dying hunter, Sono knew this was his chance. Just then, Lucas walked up, asking Arita Sarah to heal him. They needed answers from him, so Lucas sliced through her restrictive bindings. As bright light enveloped Kurosaki, his severed arm began growing back. His eyes snapped open. He gasped, desperately pulling in air. But before he could celebrate, heavy chains wrapped his wrists tight. He was warned to stay quiet unless he wanted more trouble. Kurosaki smiled through the pain, reminding them they still had to survive this maze. Right on cue, the giant heart let loose another blinding beam. Kurosaki barely rolled away as the searing energy scorched the stone. The beam shoots straight for Nanais, instantly obliterating the entire area. Seeing her in danger, Satoru rushes over, but right then, The giant heart fires another deadly laser directly at him. Right at that critical second, Little Stone charges forward at lightning speed. A massive explosion rips through the air. Once the smoke clears, a figure appears. Satoru is encased in heavy stone armor, Little Stone's transformed state. Nanai stands safely behind him, looking quite disheveled. Someone exclaims in shock, "Did you merge and level up?" It looks exactly like Master Takuchi's legendary stone armor skill, no matter how many times I witness it. Let's rewind half an hour, back when Kurosaki and Satoru were transported to a complex, multi-dimensional maze. Kurosaki's powerful dark magic instantly wiped out all the monsters inside, leaving a massive pile of rubies that Little Stone found absolutely mouth-watering. With Kurosaki's permission, the little guy sat down and began snacking greedily. Just like that, Little Stone leveled up into a snow mountain gargoyle. It's now level 2, capable of growing to level 10, and possesses Freeform Change level 2, alongside level 2 sensory, sharing with its master. Little Stone, you are amazing, but snapping back to the present. The giant heart's relentless onslaught grows increasingly violent. They're so strong, even Kurosaki's shield eventually shatters. These high-density magic beams easily chew through standard defensive spells. Seeing this, a furious Nenny steps forward without showing a single trace of fear. He swings his massive sword, literally splitting the magical beam in half. Because the beam is incredibly dense, it can actually be sliced physically. But even with that trick, they still can't get close enough to strike. If Kurosaki keeps supplying infinite energy, the heart will just keep absorbing and firing. But if Kurosaki stops, their own magic reserves will quickly drain away. It is a total dead end either way, leaving them with only one option. Satoru decides to test out his newly acquired skill, shadow movement. He glides through spider silk shadows by combining them with Control 5. Activating the giant king spider silk, Satoru wraps himself in silk threads and instantly vanishes from the spot, leaving behind only a faint, glowing trace. Standing right beside him, Maul is completely baffled as to where he went. Suddenly, a human-shaped shadow forms behind the giant heart, and Satoru emerges. Satoru slams his hand onto the beast, planning to shatter it with inherent vibration. But he severely underestimated its intelligence. The heart detonates a burst of magic power, instantly blasting Satoru back. Satoru coughs up blood but yells out, "Who do you think you are?" He channels his energy, activating Control 5 giant king spider silk once more. Thick silk threads erupt, wrapping completely around the massive heart. It gets tightly encased in a giant cylinder of white threads. But just as victory seems close, lasers blast outward from inside the cocoon. Satoru keeps pushing, Control 5 giant king spider silk super double. Beams brush past Satoru as he tells himself he has to make contact. He touches it and wraps it again, activating Control 5 inherent vibration. He uses resonance to shatter the giant heart, releasing a brilliant light. Light floods the area, and a system message confirms the giant heart is destroyed. Mei's conquest successful. Instantly, countless level-up notifications appear right before him. Sano stares at the glowing screen in front of him with pure joy. The screen congratulates him on securing the ultimate conquest reward. He receives the upgradable level 1 giant heart, which grants infinite magic power. The second skill allows him to absorb and store magic. It is an upgradable skill that will keep growing stronger. Sano reads the details, but finds it pretty useless for his current build. Then another screen pops up. His Control C skill has been upgraded. It can now auto-copy targets. Sano-senpai, you are absolutely incredible. Sano quickly tells him to back off, joking that he does not like men. Shiroki walks over, offering his congratulations on securing the giant heart. He mentions wanting to have a chat once they get back safely. Sano offers to sell the heart to him for the right price, sparking excitement. After resting and packing up, Sano prepares to return to the group. He returns the dragon sword to Ares when Maul suddenly steps up. Maul demands to know if Sano just used a Blood Tower guild skill. Pointing out how far he traveled, Sano immediately breaks out in a sweat. Thinking fast, he claims he used spider silk to pull himself across. Before Maul can probe any further, En steps in and cuts him off. She calls him rude for asking and urges everyone to hurry back. During the walk back, Kurosaki pulls Aratasuра aside for a quiet talk. He demands she repay her debt of saving her life by resetting the maze. Aratasura hesitates, asking if he is absolutely sure about doing this. Kurosaki dismisses her worry, reminding her of the absolute contract between them. He warns her not to violate the contract, the binding Adam's oath. It is a permanent bond that completely prevents her from ever betraying him. He reminds her that she can never leave, and her parents are still in his hands. Since he risked his life for hers, it is now her turn to pay him back. He orders her to begin, as this spot contains plenty of magic power. Instantly, massive waves of magic power begin swirling directly around her. Sano senses the danger and yells for everyone to escape immediately. He warns them the maze is resetting, then prepares his next move. Activating shadow movement, he instantly teleports right next to Aratasura. Sano tries to stop her, asking why she is doing this to them. She tearfully apologizes as the magic activates, warping the entire maze. Shiroki and Ares quickly throw up heavy defensive barriers. They shield everyone as they desperately dash toward the distant exit. The group barely squeezes through, making it to the city outside. Behind them, the massive gateway slams shut, sealing the exit completely. Shinoda Satoru panics, yelling that they are still trapped inside. Meanwhile, the reset fails to complete, and Kurosaki breaks free. Weapon in hand, he slowly stalks forward with a cold glare. He demands to know what went wrong, noticing the failed reset. Aratasura explains that she got pulled out mid-skill activation, meaning the reset was cut short halfway. Kurosaki realizes this. But it does not matter, the others are already gone. All he needs is the giant heart. Sano stares at his opponent with absolute rage. He prepares his giant king spider silk skill to fight. But in an instant, a system notification makes him freeze in shock. The screen says object not found. Sano cannot believe his eyes. Kurosaki just laughs. The reset did not just change the maze. It affected Sano too. Panic setting in, Sano pulls up his stats. The status window is a disaster, level 1 with minimal proficiency. Both copy and paste have completely returned to their basic starting state. But wait, Sano spots something else on the screen, an unconfirmed object. Wait for it, a sudden flash of cold steel cuts the air. Blood sprays, Kurosaki slashes Sano, leaving him horribly wounded. Goodbye, brat, Kurosaki sneers, raising his blade to finish him off. Another sword rings out, blocking the lethal strike. Maul has stepped in. He was left behind too, but he is clearly no match for Kurosaki. Kurosaki smirks. After a few fast clashes, Maul is quickly overwhelmed. A heavy kick sends Maul flying. Kurosaki closes the distance instantly. He aims for a killing blow, but Sano throws his own body forward. Sano takes the hit instead, crashing hard onto the cold stone floor. Maul stares in shock, demanding why Sano would help him when he did not ask. But before Maul can finish, Kurosaki ruthlessly cuts him down from behind. The brutal end leaves everyone speechless. Sano lies dead. Talk about a brutal twist. Kurosaki realizes only Sano reset. But everything on him is still here, leaving Kurosaki as the prize winner. Kurosaki looks at Aratasura, telling her he is her only hope now. He blames her for Sano's state, joking that Sano will thank her in death. Just as he gloats, a brilliant flash of light blinds the room. Kurosaki's wrist is severed, sending his sword flying as he screams in agony. He is back. Sano stands there completely untouched. He explains that his copied self was never part of the reset. At death's door, a secret skill triggered. Control 5, the ultimate backup plan. He pasted himself back to life. Kurosaki screams in disbelief. He literally cut Sano in half with his own hands. How is this kind of cheat skill even possible? But before he can think, thick giant king spider silk wraps around Kurosaki, locking him in place. He tries to use shadow movement to escape, but a system warning blocks him. The skill has been deleted. Kurosaki stares at the screen in absolute horror. Too many impossible things are happening at once. In desperation, he barks orders. He demands Aratasara restart the maze one more time, but she has had enough. She refuses to help him. Kurosaki snarls, reminding her of their contract. He warns her to move if she wants to live. Right then, the contract bracelet on her wrist violently surges with deadly electricity, punishing her for the defiance. Watching this, Sano realizes what is happening. So that is why she is bound. A contract bracelet, he mutters, stepping forward. Sano flashes right beside Arita Sarah. Grabbing her wrist, he triggers it. Control 6, inherent vibration. A second later, the contract bracelet shatters. The dark shackles inside Arita Sarah's heart break right along with it. She is finally free from Kurosaki's grip. Talk about a massive relief. Now you cannot command anyone, Sano declares. Go to hell in despair. In a flash, Sano uses his shadow movement skill to instantly reappear, standing right in front of Kurosaki. Today, I'll kill you with your own technique. Kurosaki immediately disconnects. Sano then looks down, picking up the giant's heart from the ground. How many people did you murder for this thing? He mutters. Trash like you has no right to hold it. Then, activating a skill, he crushes the giant's heart into powder. Instantly, a system message flashes. Alert, you have destroyed a high-level reward item. Congratulations, you have obtained a unique treasure. Meanwhile, inside the Japan Hunter Association building, group of officials are tense, discussing the latest maze incident. It turns out, the Gargoyle Snow Mountain maze was actually a multi-dimensional dungeon. This was terrifying because the great disaster 15 years ago started exactly like this. With the collapse of similar multi-dimensional mazes, no one expected them to return so soon, especially with the seal on the Western Hunter also breaking. This is a massive crisis that needs immediate, ruthless action. Yet the 7 elite hunters present do not seem to care at all. They only want to leave, focusing instead on investigating the Blood Tower. For these elites, multi-dimensional mazes are simply an impossible problem to solve right now. This dismissive attitude absolutely infuriates Tushitsuna. He scoffed, asking if they thought everyone else did nothing while they were away. He stands up, walking straight toward Sano, mentioning he heard he conquered the maze. If you are so capable, why have I never heard of you? Tushitsuna demands, asking who he is. Sano calmly replies that he is just a hunter. Asking what they plan to do, he adds that they not only cleared the dungeon but also found a highly volatile, multi-dimensional maze. While it might not be a legendary feat, it surely does not warrant this kind of treatment, right, Master Tushitsuna? Tushitsuna narrows his eyes, calling Sano bold for speaking to him like that. In an instant, the arrogant elite unleashes his heavy, impenetrable stone armor skill. Everyone nearby panics at this sudden pressure. Thankfully, the association president steps in right away. Tushitsuna reluctantly backs down and storms out of the meeting room. Next, we see the quiet office of the Hunter Association president, who starts explaining that he was once a member of the Great Sage Guild before leaving. For personal reasons, he thanks Sano on behalf of every single hunter for his immense contribution. Sano is quiet but clearly glad to have President Tomwa's respect. Beside him, Arita announces her plan to return to the International Association to report everything. Mal, however, has other plans, announcing she will stay here and quit her international post for good. She mentioned the Hunter Association, and that night everyone gathered at Sano's house. Sano asked what everyone was doing at his house so late, and Mal replied that she was no longer a member of the International Hunter Association and had nowhere else to stay, so she was just borrowing a spot at his place. Sano asked her why she was doing this, but she apologized and told him she simply could not say. Then someone else chimed in, saying they just came to play with Sano-senpai. Another snapped to not lump them in, as they only came for Arita Sara's request. They explained that Kurosaki was still in a coma because Arita Sara had refused to heal her, and once Kurosaki woke up, she would be sent straight to prison for interrogation. Meanwhile, Arita Sara herself was being held inside the Hunter Association's interrogation room, maintaining complete silence, with her only request being a meeting with Sano. They also mentioned that Arita Sara was in an idol group, suspecting that she was forced into it. Sano pointed out that he destroyed her contract bracelet, meaning she should no longer have any ties to Kurosaki, deciding he would go to the association to see her later. He then turned to another guest, asking why Master Shiroki was also in his room. Shiroki replied he was there for just one reason. However, Mal, standing right beside him, quickly interrupted, telling him that if he wanted the giant's heart, he should forget it. Sano had already destroyed it in the maze, Mal declared, shocking everyone in the room. Someone gasps, asking if he was crazy and why anyone would destroy such a rare item. But get this, the giant's heart suddenly appeared in Sano's hand, and he calmly explained that what he destroyed in the maze was actually a fake, thinking to himself that it was just a copy, though it was practically indistinguishable from the real thing. Mal stared in disbelief at the heart in Sano's hand, insisting that was impossible because she could personally confirm that what was destroyed back then was the real heart. Both Shiroki and Nanais immediately offered astronomical prices to obtain the giant's heart, with Shiroki's astronomical offer of $20 billion finally closing the deal. Later that night, Sano was happily contemplating the massive fortune coming his way, wondering if he could use his skill to copy a bunch of giant hearts and auction them on the overseas black market to get instantly rich. Honestly, can you blame him for being excited? What a great haul this was. His level had already reached over 300, and he also received a unique reward that was currently sealed, though it could be unsealed by injecting magic power. Curious, Sano immediately injected a large amount of magic power into it, and suddenly a triangular item appeared. It was a dimensional fragment, representing 1/5 of the whole. Collecting all these fragments would allow him to synthesize a dimensional key to open the door to any dimension. These fragments also had the ability to attract each other, leaving Sano looking at the item with confusion, thinking this thing seemed useless right now. Worse, it could not be copied, leaving him wondering how to collect the rest of the fragments. Just then Mal walked in, saying there was something she needed to confirm with him, and she then drew her long sword. Sano immediately panicked at the sight, crying out to ask what she was doing, but Mal stays completely silent. Instead, he raises his sword to strike and plunges the blade forward, straight toward Sano's heart, sending blood spurting out. 15 years ago, during the Great Disaster, a terrifying giant beast rampaged through the city. This monstrous creature was a lower horned dragon, ranked at level 500 plus, with strength equivalent to high horned dragons. Since it wielded fire, mages were told to counter with ice. One brave mage flew forward, flipping and dodging through the chaos until he slipped right behind the massive dragon. Raising his magic circle, he unleashed sharp ice magic, but the deadly frozen spikes were blocked by the dragon's wings, proving completely useless. Then the dragon's raw impact blasted him back several meters. Damn it, where did this overpowered monster come from? The mage cursed, realizing they stood zero chance. The lower horned dragon opened its mouth wide, unleashing a torrent of massive flames that instantly engulfed the nearest hunters. Soon, the spreading inferno triggered massive explosions all across the city, watching the carnage. From afar, other hunters panicked and fled. The entire city felt like it was plunging straight into hell, as a newly awakened rookie young Maul felt. Completely and utterly doomed, suddenly a man appeared right before him, giving sudden hope to his despairing heart. It was the legendary hunter, Frederick Shu. He silently thanked his savior, but in the very next second, Frederick was swallowed whole by the lower horned dragon, leaving only half standing. Upright, Maul was pale with absolute terror, collapsing limply onto the cold ground. Suddenly, the lower horned dragon seemed to undergo some bizarre mutation. Its agonizing roars echoed everywhere as its massive body began to swell. Finally, its flesh detonated in a gigantic blast, sending violent shockwaves sweeping over the entire landscape. Yet there stood that man again, unharmed. In front of him, utterly shocked, Maul cried out in disbelief that he was alive. He had clearly witnessed the horrific death with his own eyes, but when he looked down, only a pile of black charcoal remained, slowly scattering in the wind. A sharp voice scolded Frederick, asking why he used that forbidden move around outsiders. Only then did Maul realize there was a female mage standing right behind him. She was the person who had shielded him from that devastating blast. Frederick explained it was an emergency, the absolute fastest way to kill the beast. Its scales were incredibly hard, rendering normal attacks totally useless. If they had left it alone, the entire country would have been destroyed. Then he turned to Maul, asking him to keep this entire thing a secret. As other hunters began approaching, Frederick decided it was time to leave. Wishing him well, he hoped they would meet again once Maul became a great hunter. Maul quickly ran forward to introduce himself as a member of the Grant family, begging the hero to remember him. Frederick promised he would, calling him Maul Grant, a hunter with a skill that could easily transcend death itself. That was Frederick Shu, but wait, things are about to get even crazier. Maul never expected to meet another hunter with that same legendary power. Though it was incredibly rash, he had to personally verify his theory. Raising his hand, Maul swung the blade, stabbing Sano. The moment Sano died, his body turned to ash, scattering away. Then Sano revived, instantly appearing behind him. "Did you just kill me?" Maul lets out a sigh of relief, proving his wild theory was right. "I am so sorry, but no matter what, I just wanted to see this legendary skill with my own eyes. Weren't you terrified that your guess was wrong? What if I actually died?" Right then, Shinoda Satoru appears at the door, catching the entire scene. "Why are you still here? This is turning into a total disaster." Troublesome by the second, after explaining and apologizing, Maul decides to repay his debt by serving at Sano's side. So, a true resurrection skill actually exists in this world. Is this the secret to Senpai's insane power? Shinoda Satoru gets absolutely thrilled, but putting that aside for a moment, he asks Eris why he came back instead of going home. Eris points to a strange item. Sano stares in complete shock at what Eris is holding. Apparently, these dimensional fragments have an unusual magnetic pull toward one another. While Eris was walking home, his own fragment suddenly reacted. Following its pull, he came straight back here. Shard Sano holds is number 5, while the one in Eris's hand is number 1. Sano got his by destroying the giant's heart, while Eris received his as a precious keepsake from his mother. Her old notes confirm these fragments naturally attract one another. Now that it's proven, tracking down the other pieces will be much easier. Moving forward, still, what exactly is the point of collecting all of them? If you gather every single fragment, you can forge a key to the dimensional gate, just like the multi-dimensional maze they recently survived, having. This key allows someone to travel freely through multi-dimensional space. So, Eris did not just come to Japan for his mother, but also to gather intel on these fragments. He firmly believes his parents are still alive in another dimension, and Sano agrees. They are too powerful to have perished so easily. That means they might currently be trapped in another dimension, or there is some major reason preventing their return, but what kind of obstacle could do that? It must be something far worse than the great disaster 15 years ago. Either way, as long as they assemble the key, they can seal these dangerous mazes and stop future disasters. But how do they actually combine into a key? Right then, Little Stone taps the fragment. Instantly, the corners of both fragments pull together, releasing a blinding light. Once the glow fades, the fragments are perfectly fused together. So that is how they unite. The resonance pulsing from them is now far more intense than ever before. Meanwhile, at the European headquarters of the Star Stadium Guild, an elf suddenly notices his own dimensional fragment reacting, causing a sinister grin to spread across his face. He thinks he can finally go home. Just then, a white-haired man suddenly appears behind him, asking what has made him so incredibly happy. He mentions that the Blood Tower Guild has not responded, suggesting their mission failed. Spotting the newcomer, the elf immediately drops to his knees. Addressing him as Michael, the elf congratulates him on finally securing control of sea with free movement unlocked. He is closer to becoming a transcendent. Michael admits he can currently only use it for short-range teleportation and needs sea to help it evolve, but he promises that this evolution will be achieved very soon, as the dimensional fragments are already. They resonated, two of them should have connected. This one in hand is the key. It will point straight to the other pieces. The elf asks if Michael can go home soon. Wait, does his world not have a key of its own? Actually, there is one. Michael clarifies, opening the gate from the other side is currently impossible. It all traces back to 15 years ago, because of that one damn mage. The Western Hunter, every single dimensional gate connected to the Blue Star was sealed. The multi-dimensional key here was also split into 5 pieces and scattered. Once they collect all these fragments and lift the seal, the gate will reopen. Then Michael can finally return to his beautiful homeland, the fairyland. From there, they will unlock the gate to the World Tree. A massive reward similar to a control key is waiting for them there. Absorbing it will grant massive benefits. That sounds amazing, the elf replies. But is it truly identical to the control key? Michael just scoffs. Michael notes how shocked the elf was, proving he knows his true motives. Your homeland is the elf country, and its world tree is heavily contaminated. It was corrupted hundreds of years ago into the dark tree, facing total destruction. During the great disaster 15 years ago, the Blue Star and elf dimension overlapped for the first time. You elves tried to dump that corruption onto the Blue Star, but the Western Hunter stopped you. What do you want? Michael presses, will the elves try to reconnect the two worlds again? He demands to know if the elf is just using him for selfish goals. The elf instantly breaks into a cold sweat. Guilty, he tries to explain. But get this, the white-haired leader interrupts him, showing he completely does not care. He calmly states that he does not care about this world at all. He only wants to exploit the elf to unlock dimensions and absorb skills. He wants to transcend. The fate of this world is completely irrelevant. From now on, Michael will take action himself. The elf instantly panics. He begs Michael not to leave. After all, Michael is the crucial leader of the Star Stadium Guild. Vanishing suddenly will draw unwanted suspicion. Michael calmly replies that he already has a solid plan. He ordered Lucas to execute Plan B once preparations are finished. Michael will have the perfect excuse to act freely without any issues. Meanwhile in Japan, Sano leads Shinoda, Satoru, and Maul into a dungeon. They are raiding the high-level Forest of Death to hunt level 90 gnolls. These dangerous monsters are a wild fusion of fairy and wolf. Individually weak, they are highly intelligent and hunt in deadly packs. Shinoda looks at the sheer numbers and nervously asks Sano for backup. With only 4 of them, how can they hope to escape safely? Sano just laughs. This dungeon is the absolute perfect place to grind. He immediately baits the pack, shouting for them to come and attack. The provocation works instantly. Shinoda is nearly crying from panic. The entire horde charges. What on earth is Sano thinking right now? Sano quickly uses a gargoyle core to summon a massive stone beast. He rapidly spams the skill, raising a whole army of gargoyles. The stone beasts clash with the gnolls as his teammates watch dumbfounded. Maul watches in total shock. How does his senior have so many cores? Sono just smiles. Time to enjoy the performance, he says, but what is his skill? He can actually summon a massive army of gargoyles. Soon, both sides are locked in a brutal clash. The gargoyles charge forward with crushing force immediately, sending a huge group of enemies flying. Sono smiles. They look like mere delinquents. Hoping his own stone pet never mimics their rowdy behavior, the battle is over quickly. Sono crouches down, gently petting a gargoyle. Thank you for your hard work, he whispers. After recalling them, he opens his system inventory to check his storage. Unfortunately, he lacks the space to create a gargoyle squad. Forget it, no point in stressing about it now. It is time to go see Arita Sarah. Soon, a heavy Mercedes G-Class speeds down the road. I did not expect you to have a car, his companion remarks. Yeah, this is a birthday gift from my dad, Sono replies. His companion is speechless. He almost forgot that this guy is the prince of the great sage guild. Within minutes, they reach the Hunter Association interrogation room. Inside, Arita Sarah sits in absolute silence. She has not eaten in 3 days. She refuses to answer any questions, demanding only to see Sono. Can we speak in private? Sono asks. The officer immediately shakes his head. Given the classified nature of this investigation, we cannot allow it. Sono sighs. Fine, he will just use Control Plus to undo the damage. Later, he brings a cup of water inside. Thirsty, right? Drink first, Sono says. Arita Sarah stares at him, grabs the cup and downs the water. Gulps down the water, immediately asking if he wants to know her actual skill. It is no secret. My skill is infinite mana generation, she reveals. Help me and I will cooperate with your investigation. But first, she needs to confirm something crucial. Does he have the power to restore everything using Control Plus? Yes, a cursed ability, Sono confirms. She smiles. She is not the only cursed soul here. Meanwhile, Sono realizes the potential. If he can copy and paste her infinite mana skill, he can easily duplicate any control skill in the future. Their conversation stuns the eavesdropping guards. Restoration, curse, what is Control Plus? Are they talking about? Do these legendary skills actually exist? Her power is not simple healing, it is full restoration. No wonder the broken dragon sword fully recovered. Arita Sarah continues, explaining that her parents are currently in a deep coma. She needs massive mana to save them. You are the only one who can help me. Please, she begs. Understood, Sono answers. He can provide all the mana she needs. But in exchange, he needs her. He places his hand over her heavy handcuffs. Outside, everyone is utterly baffled by his strange actions. Suddenly, a soft humming sound rings out. Sono activates Copy Target skill. Control Plus, but a flashing system alert warns him that copying is impossible. Sono freezes in absolute shock. Why? How could this happen? He knew uncopyable skills existed, but never expected to run into one today. Damn it, his luck is completely terrible. Arita Sarah stares blankly at his hand, which is tightly gripping hers. What are you doing? She asks. What was he thinking? Sono quickly snapped out of it and let go of her hand. Then a pop-up, a bright red system window appeared warning him about copying special skills. Impossible to copy normally, but if he eliminated the target, he could succeed. That dark condition met, the power would be his to absorb. Sano felt absolutely miserable. Reading such a cruel rule crushed his spirit. Murder someone just for a skill? No way, there had to be another path. Maybe he could wait out her lifespan and absorb it after she died. Outside, the onlookers watched in complete silence. What on earth was Sano doing? Nice could not take it anymore. She called out, demanding to know the situation. Sano quickly apologized. My bad, he called out, I just spaced out. Everything is fine here, but secretly, he decided to help wake her parents first. Earning her trust was priority. A better solution would surely come up later. If not, cooperation was still on. Later that afternoon, they met up. They gathered at Hunter Center Hospital, where disaster victims were brought. Most of them were suffering from critical mana poisoning. Only this facility could handle them. Sano realized his situation was dire. He needed Kurosaki. Medical fees were insane, and he desperately needed the cash. Was Kurosaki also being kept here for his recovery? Yes, a guard confirmed. He is currently down in the underground sector. Once he wakes, the police will lock him up for investigation. Just then, a suspicious man brushed past Maul, raising instant red flags. It was Lucas, the dangerous man wielding the power of Control F, was heading downstairs. Reaching the underground vault, 2 guards immediately stepped forward to block him. Restricted area, they barked, no entry without authorization. Lucas merely smiled, calmly reaching into his pocket for a card. Thanks for your hard work, he said smoothly, presenting it as his permit. But the card was blank, except for a single letter F. Instantly, the text shifted. Pitch-black energy erupted from the card, striking them. It completely swallowed the guards, leaving no chance to cry out. Under the corruption, they stood frozen, mindless puppets now. Lucas walked right past, heading directly toward Kurosaki's holding room. He pulled out a bizarre orb wrapped in rotting purple leaves. It pulsed with pure darkness. He recalled his orders. If the Blood Tower Guild failed, he had to act. His orders were to release this curse across the entire city sea. Lucas had hated the idea. Back then, he instinctively recoiled in disgust. It was a fruit plucked from a ruined world tree. They claimed its power could create a massive barrier and open up a subspace. Want a demonstration? They had smirked before showing him the truth. The memory still brought absolute terror. That alien fruit had torn a rift open. The portal parted, revealing a colossal, horrific beast waiting in the dark. Back in reality, Lucas stared down at the cursed seed in his hand. That madman wants to turn this city into a living hell. No way. He had to protect the innocent. His family's lives depended on it. Upstairs in the medical wing, Sarah's sleeping parents finally began to wake up. She successfully recovered, noticing that Satoru was moved to tears by the scene. Witnessing this miracle, Na-en suddenly had some brilliant ideas. She wondered if this restoration was more powerful than the best healers. She knew she had to find a way to keep the girl in the association. But where did Maul go? Meanwhile, in the corridor, Lucas was moving. He had already awakened Kurosaki and was leading him safely out of the hospital. Suddenly, a system box popped up before Lucas, detecting a nearby control skill user. Kurosaki was surprised, wondering if Sarah was coming to visit his family. He also wondered if that other guy was with her when Maul suddenly appeared. Standing behind them, Maul remarked that he almost did not recognize Lucas. He was shocked Kurosaki was awake after quitting the Hunter Association. By helping him escape, Lucas had just made himself an accomplice. Maul quickly drew his weapon, but Lucas remained perfectly calm. Lucas noted how reckless Maul was, reminding him they were in a hospital. But Maul retorted that he was going to teach him a lesson. Suddenly, Sono used shadow movement to slip right behind Maul. Sono announced his presence, leaving Maul shocked to see his own skill. Lucas's unique ability chimed in, detecting Control E and rank 5 targets. Got you, Lucas realized he had finally found them, total trouble. First Kurosaki, and now an international criminal had shown up. Suddenly, the powerful newcomer Nanais arrived and drew his weapon. Lucas and Sono gasped in shock, recognizing the legendary witch's blade. Nanais grumbled to himself about having to work overtime today. The sight of Nanais holding a weapon quickly caught the crowd's attention. Onlookers whispered, wondering why the famous hunter Nanais was armed. Nanais calmly stepped forward to address the growing crowd. He asked if they could resolve this peacefully inside a hospital. Then he pulled out two heavy mana suppression handcuffs. Nanais offered to talk nicely if they would just put them on. But peaceful talk failed when Kurosaki grabbed a bystander. He yelled out that everyone in the hospital was now his hostage. His hostage threat was instantly cut short. Next second, chaos. Nanais delivered a brutal kick, sending Kurosaki flying into the wall. He crashed hard against the concrete, coughing up pools of blood. Lucas broke into a cold sweat, too fast, he could not track it. Nanais then turned his gaze toward Lucas, speaking with quiet authority. He asked if they could settle things peacefully, unlike Kurosaki. Lucas stared at the unconscious Kurosaki, weighing his final options. Wondering if he should use his trump card, he asked why he was chosen. Nanais explained that the contaminated world tree produced dangerous dark magic. Normal people would be instantly poisoned by it, but Lucas was special. He was just like the leader of the Blood Tower Guild. When Lucas asked if Kurosaki was the same, Nanais confirmed it. He uses dark magic, so Lucas should feel free to inject his own. He wanted the fruits to bloom, but Lucas sighed, saying he was sorry. Just like with Kurosaki, there is no peaceful way out of this. He draws a blade from his inventory, swearing to take him away by any means necessary. That legendary blade is the prayer sword, passed down through the prestigious Holy Knight family who have guarded it for generations. This sacred weapon is rumored to be the only holy sword capable of rivaling the famous Kurija dragon sword. But it does not boost any levels or stats. Instead, it bears a unique name, the Heretic Inquisitor, built to instantly neutralize any skill or weapon deemed heretical, and since Nanais wields the cursed witch's blade, he was instantly targeted. The holy sword moved to destroy it, making Sono worry, but Nanais tells him not to interfere, assuring him he is completely fine. It only left a scratch on his queen's blade. Now Nanais declares it is his turn. He swings his massive blade, but Lucas dodges the strike with absolute ease, mocking him. He sneers that the hospital setting is severely holding his opponent back. Claiming Nanais cannot win without using skills, Lucas is immediately proven dead wrong. Nanais' blade cleanly slices his tie, as a relentless second wave immediately follows. Instantly, a devastating strike slams directly into Lucas's chest with unbelievable force. The impact is massive, throwing Lucas back several meters as he struggles to stand. He coughs up fresh blood, feeling as though his entire body was torn apart. He realizes that even a holy weapon cannot close the massive gap in strength. Is this the true power of the world's 10th-ranked hunter? Lucas hesitates, dreading the thought of unleashing his actual skills inside a hospital. But before he can, Kurosaki's furious voice echoes as he suddenly wakes. Struggling to his feet, Kurosaki holds the highly contaminated world tree fruit. The corrupted seed is already beginning to bloom. He mocks their desperate struggle. Since they love this hospital so much, Kurosaki vows to reduce it to ashes. He violently slams the blooming fruit directly into the ground, despite their desperate warnings. Kurosaki smirks, mockingly noting they plan to plant them anyway. So why not leave one right here in the hospital? Within seconds, a massive wave of dark magical energy erupts, and everything in the vicinity begins to decay. This pure dark magic can only come from someone with highly specialized corrupt skills. But this sheer volume is insane. At this rate, everyone here is doomed. The looming threat of severe mana poisoning forces Sono to act immediately. Utilizing shadow movement, he blinks instantly behind Kurosaki's back. He traps him in silk, but Kurosaki laughs that it cannot be stopped. The dangerous world tree fruit, which was just a tiny flower moments ago, now begins to expand at a terrifying pace, forcing everyone to scramble backward. Gigantic, violent roots and branches burst through the building's walls and ceilings. A miniature world tree forms in seconds, leaving the entire facility completely ruined. Countless innocent patients are now trapped. Sono and his allies jump into action. They frantically start rescuing survivors, urging everyone to flee the collapsing building. Patients who can still walk scramble to escape the spreading destruction. But many bedridden people are left trapped. Worse, a thick demonic energy fills the air. If they do not escape soon, the toxic mana will poison them all. Realizing there is absolutely no other choice left, Sono makes a bold decision. He prepares to restore the building, immediately activating his shadow movement once more. They searched for Aridasara. At a rubble site, Koichi and Shinoda Satoru worked. Saving trapped civilians, suddenly Sano teleported right behind Shinoda. Satoru immediately informed Sano that Aridasara's room was surprisingly left intact. Reaching the chamber, they found the entrance completely blocked by massive ice walls. Aridasara had cast this magic barrier to protect the area. But even this was not enough to stop the demonic energy seeping through. Once the frozen barrier shattered, Sano and his allies quickly entered. He explained the desperate situation to Aridasara. The entire hospital was completely ravaged by the invaders who used a gigantic tree to spread corrupt demonic energy everywhere. Sano believed the quickest solution was for Aridasara to activate her skill and restore everything. Aridasara agreed, knowing that with Sano's infinite mana, it would be incredibly easy. The next moment, they stood before the massive tree. Gazing up in absolute awe, Sano remarked that the tree was far more imagined, while another ally wondered aloud where this thing had come from. It was Kurosaki, came the chilling answer. He escaped and unleashed this nightmare. Everyone gasped in sheer shock at this sudden revelation. Aridasara bitterly added that Kurosaki knew her parents were still inside, yet he still unleashed this horror, showing no regard for their lives. Sano urged them to begin, promptly starting to channel an enormous flood of mana directly into Aridasara. In turn, she pressed her hand against the trunk and activated her skill. But at that very instant, the monstrous tree seemed to sense the threat. It immediately began retracting its roots. Soon, every tendril wrapped around the building. Hospital pulled back, constructing a giant protective wall that completely blocked Aridasara's path. Suddenly, a giant weeping fissure tore open across the trunk, massive. Dark energy poured out, directly targeting Aridasara. Sano, witnessing this, became instantly gripped by deep dread. He quickly charged forward, activating Control 5, Giant King Spider's silk. Instantly, the silk formed a heavy shield right in front of them. A deafening blast immediately rocked the room, tearing apart both silk and dark energy. Dissipated, Shinoda Satoru immediately rushed over, his face twisted with concern. Asking Sano if he was all right, and Sano grunted that he was fine. But Aridasara had collapsed, and it appeared the entire restoration attempt had failed. They had to quickly evacuate everyone before the poison spread, prompting Shinoda Satoru to lift Aridasara and sprint directly toward the hospital. Gates, meanwhile, Sano pointed at the mysterious tree, asking Ares if he knew what this terrifying anomaly was. Ares replied that according to his mother's research journals, it likely originated from a completely different dimension. From theirs, Ares believed this was a fruit from a contaminated world tree, designed specifically to funnel deadly contamination from its source directly into their world because the core entity resided entirely in another dimension. Simply restoring its state would never work. He added that these monstrous fruits could also act as dimensional barriers, which enemies would soon scatter across City C. Sano was profoundly shaken by this revelation. A colossal catastrophe was rapidly descending upon them. 10 minutes later, at the hospital entrance, rescue personnel evacuated a massive number of casualties, while magic hunters desperately try utilizing purification spells to eliminate the pervasive, dark corruption. Yet no matter how hard they try, they cannot cleanse it. President Fua and Tokuchi Tsuyoshi arrive. Finally, help is on scene. They grimly realize it is a contaminated world tree from another dimension. Even seeing the massive structure in person, they struggle to believe it. Meanwhile, Nanai still bears the heavy burden of responsibility for this disaster. No one expected Kurosaki to actually escape from the famous hunter, Nai. Fua warns that if Lucas is also involved in this dangerous plot, they must demand answers directly from the International Hunter Association. Suddenly, the ground shakes. Violent tremors rip through the entire city. Confused and panicked, a nearby hunter runs directly toward President Fua. He breathlessly reports that another world tree has sprouted in the north. Kurosaki acted fast. Now, two mysterious trees stand tall in the city. Both of these towering structures continuously leak a heavy, dark demonic energy. Inhale it and you die. The spreading poison is fast and deadly. Because of the danger, officials quickly seal off both of the areas. Panicked citizens quickly evacuate, packing the local roads with escaping cars. Records show these trees actually grew from contaminated fruits from another world. This highly toxic demonic energy stems directly from that alien dimensional tree. These massive growths act as conduits, pumping dark magic straight to Earth. These conduits keep pumping black energy, and honestly, things look incredibly grim. Kurosaki mockingly tells Lucas that he never expected him to be so incredibly ruthless. He points out that Lucas brainwashed innocent, ordinary people with dark magic. Anyone contaminated becomes a puppet, completely bound to his dark will. Lucas snaps in pure rage, telling him to shut up immediately. Kurosaki just laughs it off, claiming he is simply offering a compliment. He assures Lucas that as long as they stay together, they will never be caught. Can you believe they are actually hiding inside a police cruiser? Truly brilliant. They must hurry. Meanwhile, back at the Hunter Association headquarters, Sono and his allies discuss countermeasures in the president's office. He wonders if a few more trees will surround the entire city. His companion confirms this, citing details recorded in his mother's personal notes. Identical contaminated trees appeared during the tragic Great Disaster 15 years ago. These trees act as both massive barriers and gates to other worlds. Once activated, endless hordes of mutated monsters will flood our world. Sono wonders if this nightmare is directly linked to that tragedy 15 years ago. He vividly remembers their car being violently attacked by the massive roots. His father drove desperately to save him from the thrashing wooden roots. He grit his teeth, wondering who would unleash such terror, despite his father's best efforts at driving maximum speed. They could not escape the violent assault. The sharp roots pierced straight through the vehicle. Remembering this pain, Sono shudders. Suddenly, the cursed hourglass symbol on his neck begins to glow pale blue. He questions if this crisis is somehow tied directly to his own curse. If the mastermind is indeed the same person, Sono vows to make them pay. Another hunter recalls a similar tree back then, while busy clearing a high-level dungeon. There was too much chaos to pay attention to it. It forms a barrier, acting as a gate. Connecting different dimensions and opening up a subspace, Sono did not quite understand. Why they made it so complicated? Was there something special about that subspace? It could not be a dark soul subspace, could it? The report said. Dark souls need an environment filled with demonic energy, so they use contaminated trees to form a barrier for their descent, undercurrent. Circumstances, a subspace opening is highly likely. However, the worst case scenario is that a gate to another dimension might also open. Hearing the word subspace, Sano suddenly saw a massive opportunity. If he could copy it into infinite space, he could solve his inventory space limits and create an unlimited army of gargoyles. Wouldn't he be invincible? He had to catch the mastermind and secure that subspace. Their discussion then turned to dimensional keys. Tsuyoshi did not believe such things. existed, so Sano pulled out the dimensional fragments he held. Tsuyoshi stared in absolute shock, unable to believe these were real. Is this really a dimensional key? He asked. These are just 2 fragments of the key. You need all 5 to make it work, Sano explained. His mother's notes mentioned a contaminated dimensional gate that once opened in country. Why now that those contaminated trees and fragments had returned, it was highly likely the outsiders from back then were active again. They might also hold dimensional fragments. Right then, Shiosaki spoke up. Actually, their guild had one of those too. An hour later, they arrived at this underground vault of the future guild. The vault door was absolutely massive. Master Shiosaki, where did you get this thing? You did not buy it through underground black markets, right? Do not let it be an embarrassing fake. Sano, however, was certain a real fragment lay inside. He knew they naturally resonated with each other. As the heavy door opened, the interior was revealed to the group. In the vast space, only one item rested in the center. It was dimensional fragment number 4, wrapped in a shimmering barrier, since nobody knew what would happen if they merged. Only Sano and Shiosaki stepped inside. This decision secretly pleased Tsuyoshi. He thought, if you accidentally open some strange dimension, I will make you pay. The door closed behind Sano and Shiosaki as they approached the fragment. Can you tell me where you got this, Sano asked. Shiosaki scoffed. Stop talking nonsense and let us get to work. Once you combine them, step into my barrier. Sano just laughed. You do not need to worry so much. I have merged them before, so relax. Besides, he added confidently, he could easily use teleportation skills to escape instantly. The moment Sano touched the fragment, the barrier around it shattered. The piece immediately glowed with a blindingly dazzling light. What is happening? Sano wondered as a massive explosion echoed through the room. Fortunately, Sano teleported away just in time. Otherwise, he would have been finished. He never imagined the fragment would automatically emerge from space to combine itself. He realized that if just the 3rd fragment combining caused this much destruction, what would happen next? Sono wonders when the 4th opponent finally shows up. Seeing Sono use advanced teleportation, the mage instantly flies into a rage. He angrily demands to know who he is, but Sono simply asks what is wrong. Suddenly, Shiosaki grabs the young hunter directly by the throat. He snarls, demanding how Sono can use such high-tier movement. Sono complains, but Shiosaki just presses him for answers. How can you use dark skills without any dark magic power? Sono panics internally, desperately wondering if he has to reveal his massive secret right now. He claims he lacks dark magic, but Shiosaki refuses to buy the lie. With a roar, he blasts black lightning directly at him. Sono curses, realizing his shadow movement is completely blocked. Shiosaki sneers, knowing exactly why the young hunter is helpless. Black lightning is the only thing that shuts down shadow movement. He admits he has been highly suspicious of him right from the start. What actually happened with Kurosaki on that snowy mountain? Is this all your plan? Sono curses silently, frantically trying to find an escape. He regrets coming in here completely alone, but there is simply no other choice. Readying himself, he activates the giant king spider silk skill. Countless sticky threads explode outward, wrapping the mage tightly. Shiosaki is instantly sealed inside a massive, tight cocoon. But a second later, bang, the entire web structure violently explodes. Shiosaki emerges completely unharmed, stepping right back up to him. Speak now, he warns, or you will die here. Sono wonders if this madman is actually furious enough to kill him. Now watch. Shirasaki's dark aura flares to its absolute limit. Cornered in this dire situation, Sono realizes he has only one option left. He quickly opens his inventory, pulling out 2 high-tier potions. They block 95% of damage, but cannot be combined. They fail if he dies first. Suddenly, Shirasaki launches his attack. A massive storm of black lightning crashes directly down on him. Sono's health bar drops rapidly, sending him into absolute panic. With his life under 25%, he triggers his ultimate berserk mode. He commands the system to equip the Kerja dragon sword. Instantly, his gold aura erupts, shattering the dark lightning completely. Glaring at Shirasaki, Sono growls that he was forced to do this. He swings his giant blade, completely blindsiding the high-ranking mage. A massive explosion rocks the room, leaving Shirasaki heavily wounded. Blood trickles from his mouth as a forgotten memory suddenly flashes. It was his brother asking to name their dream guild. They settled on Future Guild, hoping to reach the very top. His brother promised to help him become the ultimate world hunter. The strongest hunter on Earth, a title they both wanted. Another memory from 10 years ago slowly surfaces in his mind. Back then, they fought the King of Hell without any fear. They won, but everything fell apart during their next raid. They realized a complete stranger had infiltrated their team, but Shirasaki didn't care at all. This dungeon was pretty famous. It was normal not to recognize everyone. Plus, they had Nanny's return. Skill, meaning they could escape any danger. Even so, Nanny was still extremely worried. Then, right at the end of the raid, disaster struck. The bandaged man suddenly attacked everyone. Someone yelled, "What are you doing?" The attacker just grinned, saying this was dark magic. It was an addictive toxin that would slowly contaminate their minds. Soon they would turn into low-level monsters, even worse than ghouls. Shirasaki demanded the antidote immediately, threatening to kill him on the spot. But the man wanted the dungeon's final reward, the shadow movement skill. "Hand it over," he said, "and I will save your brother." He added that without dark magic power, the skill was totally useless. Left with no choice, Shirasaki handed the legendary skill over. The man told him about the Cooper family ancestral sword from Country Y. That sword was the only cure. Shirasaki realized he had been tricked. "You bastard," he screamed, but the bandaged man only laughed. There was never an antidote for dark magic, and this was a moving dungeon. Once cleared, the whole place would completely collapse as it relocated. "You never intended to let us go," Shirasaki spat in pure rage. "Goodbye, little guy," the villain mocked as he vanished into the shadows. The cave-in began. Nanny clutched an object, calling out to his brother. He had found it in the boss room. He did not know what it was. But it was clearly special. Then Nanny pushed him away, saying goodbye. As the return skill activated, Shirasaki was warped away entirely alone. He materialized in the quiet guild office, completely shattered by grief. He screamed in agony. Now, 10 long years have passed since that day. He had searched every dungeon, but never found that moving maze again. Though the chances of his brother surviving were slim, he refused to stop. Even if it was just remains, he had to bring Nanny back. His incredible power was all thanks to the Kerja dragon sword. This was why he studied forbidden dark magic and dark skills in secret. He did not care about the Hunter Association's strict rules at all. Most of those forbidden skills had been wiped out long ago. Shadow movement was incredibly rare, only that bandaged man could use it. He was ready to explain how he and Kurosaki learned it. But someone interrupted, pointing out he just used the Kerja dragon sword. Ares would never hand that over. It was clear his skill was theft. Just like the sword, he had stolen the shadow movement ability. They mocked him, calling him nothing more than a thief. Shirasaki calmly asked them to drop the thief label. He added that once the dimensional key collection was finished, he wanted to join them. Meanwhile, on the other side, Kurosaki had just finished planting another contaminated world tree. Having resolved the misunderstanding, Sono and Shirasaki exited the treasury. Everyone wanted to know what happened inside, but Sono made up a quick excuse. Major news: the third contaminated world tree has finally appeared. Its location gave away everything, allowing them to predict Kurosaki's next move. But first, hunters near Jinsa had to be gathered immediately. Judging by the massive barrier, the subspace was going to open in Jinsa. If they could stop him before the fourth tree appeared, they were safe. He needed to gather hunters at the association, inviting them to tag along. No way, they still had a lot of preparations to make. Everyone split up to work while over in Europe, a secret meeting began. Michael and his guild had just received an urgent plea for support. The call came from Country H, and Country M was already notified too. The time was finally now. Would the subspace open normally? One member asked. Absolutely, Michael replied. Its opening was completely unavoidable. It was going to be packed with low-level goblins and half-orcs. Just weak small fry, someone scoffed, clearly doubting the local hunters. Michael smirked, and honestly, that smile bodes nothing but trouble. Yet they still could not afford to take this situation lightly. Once it opens in City C, a massive debuff strikes everyone. Failure was not an option, and soon after, the ferryman departed. Meanwhile, over at the White House in Country M, tension was mounting. A commander asked if that terrifying entity had truly appeared in Country H. An aide confirmed it first appeared in Country Y 15 years ago. These creatures originate from the exact same dimension as the Dark Soul subspace. That makes the situation highly volatile, risking a direct passage between worlds. If that portal opens wide, it could spell absolute disaster for humanity. Luckily, the International Hunter Association had already sent backup to help. Right on cue, a secretary received an incredibly urgent phone call. She alertly announced a live video call incoming from the Hunter Association. Once approved, the main television screen flickered on to reveal a terrified face. The caller cried out that they had run into massive trouble. Things were rapidly spinning completely out of control, and fast. The Rattlesnake Guild's private plane was already flying straight toward Country H. The commander gasped, realizing that Turner himself was on board that flight. Turner carried most of their prototype weapons, making him incredibly dangerous. He is a literal nuclear bomb, and you just know he is completely unstable. The commander muttered that this was no longer just Country H's problem. He ordered his staff to deploy their elite hunter teams for immediate support. Back near the third contaminated tree, the atmosphere was thick with dread. Lucas stood alone on a distant rooftop, silently watching the colossal structure. Exactly as Kurosaki warned, he realized he had finally crossed the line. He sighed heavily, knowing all of this happened because he wanted to protect his family. It was a heavy burden, tracing back to the fateful day he unlocked that skill. Unlocking control, F instantly flooded his mind with a torrent of media data. He felt a heavy wave of raw human emotion, resentment, and desperate hope. The fading minds of dying beasts echoed in his head for a whole week. He nearly blacked out, completely helpless, but finally in sheer desperation, he tried ending his own life to stop the Control F curse. But, ironically, that dark moment was when he discovered the cure. His family owned a sacred heirloom, the Angel Sword. As long as he gripped it, the Control F curse remained suppressed. Over time, he adapted, but then disaster struck. A massive dimensional gate ruptured open in Country Y soon, Western. Hunters arrived at his home, demanding to borrow the Holy Sword. Lucas's father, wanting to protect his son, refused. Because of that, Country Y suffered brutal losses, and the Cooper family lost all their standing and influence. This drove Lucas to study the curse himself, desperate for answers. After trying every possible method, he stumbled on a grim truth. Only dark magic could tame this power. One slip, one moment of weakness, and he would lose control. That was why he chained the Holy Sword to his side. But then, he struck a deal with allies who helped his family rebuild their fallen empire. But the price was horrifying. Michael Sama threatened him, demanding he use Control F2. Track down every cursed soul, just so Michael could butcher them for their power. Lucas had used protecting his family as a convenient excuse for way too long. He had to admit the ugly truth: he was just a coward afraid of death. Now that the other control skill is out there, letting Michael take it would trigger pure catastrophe. Lucas needed to witness what lay ahead with his own eyes. So he sealed the blade. The black curse exploded instantly. The skill activated, ripping Lucas's mind straight into a dark, endless void. Guided by old clues, he searched relentlessly. He locked onto the target. Control C. 10,000 meters above, a plane cruised toward the island nation, carrying Turner, the world's absolute strongest hunter. His sub-leader, Richard, asked why they were flying commercial for such a critical mission. Turner replied by asking if Richard had already forgotten their guild's primary rule. Of course not, Richard answered, knowing that letting your guard down invites instant death. He promised to stay sharp. Turner stared out, remembering how 15 years ago, during the great disaster, he was just an A-rank hunter who barely survived. Ultimately, it was foreign hunters who pulled him out. Soon after, a godlike being gifted him an insane skill, launching him to the very top of the world. Once the dust settled, Cyan handed him a heavy responsibility for safekeeping. Staring down, Turner gripped a multi-dimensional fragment glowing with a warm golden light. For the first time in 15 years, this ancient relic was vibrating. Something massive was stirring in that island nation, and he had to find the truth. Meanwhile, over the streets of Jinza, a dark, demonic energy rapidly thickened. Local hunters scrambled. This hotspot was completely corrupted, meaning a massive subspace rift would inevitably shatter open right here. The Great Sage Guild quickly took charge of defending the World Tree at the hospital. Guildmaster Shinoda Shiro channeled complex magic barriers to suppress the spreading decay. Elsewhere, Guildmaster Tekuchi deployed his top squads to fortify nearby sectors. He sat alone in central Jinza, waiting for the dimensional tier to burst. Meanwhile, the smaller guilds scrambled too. While everyone is busy evacuating civilians, someone wonders where Hunter Sano went. He said he had some errands first, and next, we are at a Jinza shopping mall. Sano and his crew are loaded down with shopping bags, even little stone. Suddenly, Lucas confronts them with his sword. Sano asks how he tracked them down, but Lucas refuses to waste any words right now. He is only here for Sano, who instantly notices the holy sword. Remembering what Shirasaki told him, Sano realizes copying this blade might purify the dark energy. With that goal in mind, Sano moves. Sano vanishes. In a flash, he is behind Lucas, ready to strike. But Lucas catches him. Sano is forced to jump back immediately. Lucas knows his skills. Sano's copying power is no longer a secret. Sano freezes. How on earth did Lucas find out about Control Plus? Even so, Sano plays dumb and acts like he has no clue. Lucas snaps that ignorance is useless when his own family is risking everything. He swings, but just before the blade lands, Sano triggers shadow movement, slipping directly behind Lucas again, but the holy sword is a problem. Since holy light counters shadow skills, Lucas immediately unleashes the blade's true power. A blinding light erupts from the sword, signaling absolute trouble for Sano. Sano's shadow travel is completely blocked. The holy light purifies all darkness. With everything within a 10-meter radius sealed, Lucas dares him to try running. Sano wonders if he should draw his Kisha dragon sword instead. Meanwhile, Lucas demands to know how Sano even manages to wield the Control Plus skill. Sano realizes Lucas is also cursed, hunting him down just to steal his power. He compares him to Kurosaki, a comparison that absolutely infuriates Lucas. Blinded by rage, Lucas charges, catching Sano completely off guard with a sudden strike. Blood splatters. The holy blade pierces straight through Sano's chest. Lucas smiles, thinking he won, but this was Sano's real plan all along. Sano touched the holy sword. Now, Control Plus begins the copy process. Sano successfully copies its power, then immediately grabs a high-grade healing potion. He chugs it and his fatal wound seals up in seconds. Lucas is horrified. Sano took a lethal blow on purpose just for a copy. Stunned, Lucas demands to know what Sano actually plans to achieve with Control-C. Sano scoffs. He wants to become the strongest hunter in the entire world, an existence far surpassing even the transcendent ones. Unhappy with that answer, Lucas attacks again, but Sano tells him to wait. He asks if Lucas missed the warning. There are only 5 years until disaster. Lucas is genuinely confused, having been completely overwhelmed by information when cursed. His brain simply couldn't filter the massive flood of data back then. But that hourglass mark on his body is a literal countdown. Suddenly, a terrifying roar echoes from the sky. Is it starting? A dark subspace from another dimension begins tearing open above them. Once fully open, it will decrease all Hunter HP and MP by 30%. Normal magic is blocked, threatening to turn the city into literal hell. From the shadows, the hidden elf watches. Their scouting mission is done. Should they retreat and report? Before they can move, everything shifts. Countless black lightning bolts strike down toward Kurosaki as Shiroki arrives. Ares is by his side. Shiroki sneers that Kurosaki cannot leave because death is waiting. He mocks them for being too late. The subspace opening cannot be stopped. This entire city is completely finished, and Shiroki is perfectly fine with that. His only target is Kurosaki. Besides, those nasty subspace debuffs won't affect him. Kurosaki fires back, asking if Shiroki thinks he is the only one immune. With a sharp motion, he pulls a long sword from thin air to show off true dark magic. Meanwhile, the scene shifts over to the Hunter Association, where chaos is brewing. Every hunter suddenly receives a system alert about the incoming subspace rift. One hunter panics over the ridiculous debuffs, restricting all magic skills. They wonder how mages can even fight, desperately trying to trigger their spells. But nothing works. Suddenly, a massive tornado erupts in the city center. Then a colossal spatial rift tears open right before everyone's eyes. A lone figure slowly steps out from the middle of the spatial rift. This newcomer is the actual mastermind, saying that everyone is finally here. The show is about to begin, leaving the hunters below completely puzzled. They wonder why a massive subspace only spawned a single elf, but then everyone looks down. Countless terrifying monsters start pouring out of the subspace in waves. Their sheer numbers send the crowd into a panic, wondering how they can handle this. One hunter screams in horror, while the mastermind gloats about his long wait. He has waited 15 years, telling his monsters to vent their absolute rage. Immediately, the horde charges forward, but a brave, bald man steps up to meet them. He scoffs, asking if they think numbers will win, because they clearly underestimate humans. With that, Toucheye activates his stone armor and unleashes heavy punches. He declares that magic is not needed to keep his defensive armor active. Killing them one by one is too annoying, so he tells them to come all at once. Toucheye's loud provocation instantly enrages the massive wave of monsters in front of him. But the next second, those beasts are violently torn apart by a crushing force. Inspired by Master Toucheye's power, the other hunters charge in to help. The two sides clash, and Hunter Nanai's rushes directly into the fray. Meanwhile, several monsters close in on President Fua as he stands his ground. Just as they strike, President Fua pulls out a giant shield to block their advance. His massive shield easily blocks every single attack coming his way. Then he raises the shield high and swings it down with brutal force. He splits the lead monster clean in half, the shockwave tearing through those behind it. This massive defensive shield behaves exactly like a deadly, oversized sword. Even without active skills, the raw power of his weapon is absolutely immense. While these beasts are easy for President Fua and Master Toucheye to handle, they prove way too difficult for the ordinary hunters struggling nearby. The enemy numbers are overwhelming, threatening to put everyone in grave danger. Right then, Nanais finds herself targeted by a giant flying beast. It swoops down, but Nanais barely dodges the level 150 boss griffin. Known for lethal ambushes, it is a high-tier boss monster that shocks the hunters. They wonder why a boss-level monster is appearing so incredibly early. The beast is not the worst part. The true danger lies in the flames. This cursed flame won't extinguish until its target is completely burned away. To Ash, with all recovery skills sealed, Naz realizes they are in trouble. If anyone gets hit by those flames, they're finished. The beast must be stopped. Suddenly, a terrifying blast of fire erupts from the monster's mouth. The griffin's blast heads straight for Hunter Nanais, who gasps in pure terror. She's about to be swallowed whole, but suddenly, a massive figure leaps in front. In a split second, the violent torrent of fire engulfs them both. But through the blazing hell, President Fua stands firm with his giant shield. He splits the flames cleanly. Go Nanais cut off its head. She needs to stop the beast from breathing any more fire. Nanais instantly charges forward, but the griffin is already preparing to strike. It unleashes more fire, completely surrounding the entire area. But this cannot stop her. Nanais leaps high, swinging the witch's blade. She aims right for its head, but the agile beast somehow manages to dodge. It raises a massive claw to crush her, forcing Nanais to quickly block. She never expected this oversized bird to be so incredibly fast on its feet. Suddenly sensing incoming danger, the griffin beats its wings and retreats into the sky. President Fua had lunged in, but his backup attack only made things much worse. Fighting a flying beast in this state is going to be an absolute nightmare. It can easily rain fire from above. Fua barks a warning to stay back. Instead of backing down, Nanais demands cover as she charges. She is confident she can bring it down. Fua smiles and takes action. He hurls his massive shield forward, giving her the perfect launchpad in midair. Nanais springs off the shield, landing directly on the griffin's back with her blade raised. With one brutal, decisive swing, she severs its head and sends it crashing down. And just like that, it's down, but wait, this is far from over. Dark magic begins to leak heavily from the defeated boss monster's corpse. Instead of clearing, the thick miasma in the air is only getting worse. It turns out stronger beasts release far more corruption upon their death. Across the battlefield, powerless hunters are being pushed to their absolute limits. They cannot keep this up. It is time to use their secret weapons. A desperate mage activates a rare magic scroll, unleashing a devastating spell circle. The pure energy tears the surrounding beasts to absolute shreds. But these scrolls are single-use items that vanish instantly after activation. While others cheer, the mage warns them not to celebrate quite yet. He has barely any scrolls left. Suddenly, a nearby hunter begins to cough. The man collapses in agony, coughing up blood. Ikanaga rushes to help but freezes. Suddenly, Ikanaga also coughs up blood. The horrific contamination has begun. Every kill releases more dark energy. Now, everyone is suffering from magic poisoning. They realize the truth way too late. There is no escape now. Every single creature in this cursed space carries the deadly dark aura. Their deaths only release more of this toxic, suffocating magical poison. They thought slaying monsters meant survival, but it will only destroy them. And there are still countless beasts waiting inside this dark space. Looking around in complete despair, Ikanaga wonders if his nation is truly doomed. Just then, a familiar voice echoes from behind, telling him to stand up because it is not over yet. This is only the beginning as Sono and his group finally arrive on the chaotic battlefield. They are carrying bags of all sizes, leaving Ikanaga completely stunned to see Sono standing there. Before he can even ask, Sono quickly hands over a healing potion, urging him to drink up. He tells him not to worry and to leave everything to their team from now on. Ikanaga can barely believe his eyes, wondering if this is really the same old Sono. Sono pulls up his system panel, determined to wipe out that annoying debuff first. He activates his infinite magic copy ability, and within the very next second, an insane wave of magical energy erupts from Sono, washing over the entire field. Hunters who were completely blocked from casting suddenly feel their powers rushing back. Nearby, President Fua immediately notices the massive shift, even though the subspace debuff is not fully gone. This steady magic supply lets the hunters fight back. They can finally use their skills again, showcasing a truly incredible level of magic. President Fua is amazed, while the elfman looks visibly shaken by this sudden power. Sono is basically pouring out ridiculous amounts of magic just to counteract the debuff. The elfman is left wondering how any human could possibly manage this. But even with this massive boost, the overwhelming horde is still too massive. They cannot clear them all at once, so Sono's team pushes forward.